half hour late.
Greetings, sentient beings. This broadcast is not intended for children. There will be strong language and adult themes.
But no maturity.
None, zero, still not
intended for children. There will.
Sorry.
Daddy.
What are you doing, Doc?
Daddy, what's that thing? It's so big.
What?
Nothing.
Improper references.
I feel like a joke went whooshka over my head.
I got it. You didn't want it.
I kind of figured.
It was the first time I tried that one. I'll have to refine it a little more and
There
back
we
with it another time. Sorry.
Okay. Sloth Girl needs a 4-letter word for classic cocoa powder starting with F.
Wait, classic cocoa powder?
Is this a crossword?
Yep.
I'm assuming.
Yeah, she does a lot of crosswords.
I'm not very good at the
I can't
crossword
think of anything
thing.
that starts with F.
No, I can't either. Okay, and we've got Amiga Nuts and Nigglesbot.
Hi, Amiga Sweetie.
Hi.
And who else
Okay,
do we
it
have?
doesn't start with F.
Put
So
my,
apparently she got
put my
one of the
Ko-Fi up. I
wrong.
need some coffee.
Well,
I'm
but
sitting
that
here
was
going,
quick.
fudge
Oh, yeah.
starts. I'm sitting here thinking fudge starts with F, but it's not a 4-letter word, and also fudge is not always chocolate.
Well,
And it's not powder.
didn't they just spell quick? Q-U-I-K?
Right.
Ah.
I haven't had quick in ages.
So,
I vaguely remember that.
I just bought some chocolate milk maker today because I've missed it so much.
Well, I've been on a chocolate milk kick for quite a while, and I get mine pre-made. I mean, I'll buy it a gallon at a time. And the problem I have is that it might take me 2 days to drink the gallon. You know, it's rather a lot of milk to drink at one time. So, oh well, what are you going to do? No wonder I gained a couple pounds.
I can't buy a gallon of milk at a time because I don't drink it fast enough. I have to limit myself to quarts.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's the amazing thing. I mean, yeah, regular essence of cow. I don't drink quickly enough to put a gallon away, but chocolate milk, Jesus, I inhale this stuff.
Bovine mammary excretions.
Yes. Oh, Jesus, strawberry Nesquik. I remember that stuff.
Oh, that was good. I love that stuff.
I
I
have.
wanted them to come out with a banana.
There is banana milk out there, isn't there?
Never seen it.
I've
Yeah, I
seen
remember the
banana
banana-flavored.
flavored drinks before. Blech.
You know what I have developed an addiction for lately is cherry flavored Italian ice.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The stuff I get around here locally is very much like that maraschino cherry, artificial cherry paste, and which I
Ooh, that's
absolutely
nice.
adore. And it is just so perfect. And then you put the hot chocolate or fudge sauce on it, and oh my God.
What the heck? I have to read this closely here. Okay. Korean banana milk recipe. Let's where is the ingredient list? Because there it is. 1 ripe banana sliced or broken into pieces.
Whoa,
Half
President
regular-
Trump and First Lady test positive for the coronavirus.
Yeah, I've already gone on record about that one.
This is my first scene on late night news.
Okay, did Trump actually test positive for it? Because the
That's what it
article I
says.
saw was only talking about an aide of his.
It says President Trump and First Lady test positive for the coronavirus.
Whoa, who put that out? I want to see it.
ABC News live right now.
ABC, all right.
I just saw that on my AP app just before I hopped on.
Let me guess, though. I bet he's asymptomatic.
Today, Friday, I was scheduled to be in Wisconsin. A full campaign schedule. Obviously, that all goes out the window. But you raise a really important point.
Okay, 7 minutes ago.
As if the pandemic was
Okay, this is according to a tweet from Trump himself. So I'm not going to accept that as truth until I get confirmation. But it would be interesting if he did indeed test positive.
It's on his tweeted account. I just saw it.
Yeah, because the last I saw, he entered quarantine in case he was positive.
No, 21 minutes ago, he tweeted
Yeah, well,
tonight,
no,
Lotus and I. No, I'm looking at his actual tweet on his actual account that says he tested positive and is going into quarantine.
Okay, yeah. Stuttering Chris had retweeted that, but seemed like he wasn't sure if that was actually authentic.
It is off of his real account.
Okay.
Yeah,
So either one of his staffers got on and they're going to be in big trouble really soon, or
he's full of shit.
Well, it's not too surprising. He hasn't been taking precautions,
Mm-hmm.
and he has been preventing people around him from taking precautions because he thought it made him look bad.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say it's impossible that he has COVID-19. It's also possible, however, that, as I say, he's full of shit and he's wording it badly. I guess a news person might put it that way. Who can tell?
I don't know how he's wording it badly.
Yeah, I don't believe anything out of his mouth. Let's face it.
Yeah.
Give me some confirmation. As I said, I'm not ruling it out. But
What other confirmation? What? Okay, guess I'm coming from a different place than y'all. I know he's a lying asshole,
Mhm.
but
I think what Diana's saying is that, he tweeted it out, but, he often gets his own information wrong.
Right. Now,
So we have to see if by morning if some aide, tries to backpedal on it.
Yeah, if his personal physician came out and said, okay, Trump has COVID-19, he's going into quarantine, I'm going to say, okay, this is going to be really interesting.
I think I'm kind of with Diana on that one. I'm sitting here thinking, what would he gain by lying about that?
that's where I'm coming from. I'm like, this makes him look bad. It makes him look like it's not as he's been downplaying it and being like, oh, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. So I understand where y'all are coming from, where you're not trusting him. But at the same token, I'm like, every once in a while, he does tell the fucking truth.
Accidentally, yeah.
Yeah, and there you go.
So this is why I'm like, I can understand why you're a little bit skeptical, but at the same time, when he blurts shit out, Twitter seems to be where he does it.
Yeah, and then the other one here is, I mean, as I tweeted earlier today, call me what you will, but I cannot help but wonder that his first announcement, even that he's going into quarantine because he thinks he may have been exposed, wasn't a ploy to get out of the next debate.
Yeah, that one.
That would be something he could gain. I mean, you have to pay a high price for it, but
no.
and if he lied about having it and then comes out later and says, I came out of it unscathed, he can further downplay its seriousness.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, I hadn't thought of that.
Fair. That's fair. I was just trying to figure it out because, to me, that if you want to know what Trump is really thinking, most of the time it's his Twitter account where he can figure that shit out.
Yeah.
Like, his press conferences, not so fucking much. You know, whatever he sends out his staffers to do, not so much. But
Yeah,
generally speaking, his Twitter tends to be, even though he lies, his Twitter tends to be more reliable to figure out what's going on with him than anything else, which is why so many people go directly to his Twitter account to see what the fuck is actually going on.
Yeah, it's closest to what he has on his mind or whatever passes for his mind. That jumbled mess of indistinct thoughts.
Or just to stay in quarantine at this point. Not so much to get out of the next debate, but he could do the next debate via teleconference.
Right.
Standing just off camera with cue cards to keep him on message, and nobody would know he's being coaxed.
I saw you post that. Yes. And then the other thing, it reminded me of the Star Trek episode Patterns of Force from the original series, where they propped up the Fuhrer, but he was so drugged up he couldn't say anything, so they supplied his voice with an overdub.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing it might help with is that, with the election so close, it would look strange if he's not making appearances. But I think a lot of the Republican governors and such would rather he didn't come to their states at this point.
Yeah, really.
So it would be a convenient excuse for that about why he's not going to rallies to support the other governors and senators.
Wisconsin Governor Tony Evers specifically asked him not to come.
Right.
Because of the COVID virus. I was just listening to the TV report. Jonathan Karl, the White House reporter for ABC, one of the good guys, is saying that he was listening to Trump discuss this on the Sean Hannity show, and he said that he could absolutely clearly sense a tone of fear in Trump's voice. Apparently, his number one advisor, this Hope Hicks woman, has come down with it.
Yes,
and he was discussing that, and his testing, and the guy said that he sounded very scared.
Are you guys like about half an hour behind with the news?
I am, because I was doing. I was not anywhere near the news.
Well,
earlier.
they've both tested positive, Trump and
so
melanoma.
It's confirmed by someone other than Trump.
I'll tell you what happened.
Okay.
If you're behind, I'm not trying to be cheeky, but I heard about the Hope Hicks thing.
Mm-hmm.
When just as he tweeted it, I wasn't watching, but it was announced on the radio. They kind of said, "Oh, this has just happened."
Yeah, I heard about it several hours ago.
Yeah. And I thought, whatever, bullshit. And I fell asleep. I've just woken up now, which is why I look so gorgeous. And I've just seen on Twitter right now his latest, not his tweet, sorry, but from LBC, who I listen to on the radio. US President Donald Trump has tested positive for COVID-19. And then in the what's happening side, I haven't looked, it's just what's there right now. What's happening? President Trump says he and First Lady Melanoma Trump have tested positive for COVID-19.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm a little bit afraid of. If he may be so full of shit that his eyes are brown on this one. I'd really like to hear something from, let's say, his personal physician.
Yeah.
Someone who can be a little better trusted to tell the truth. I mean, it's not necessarily that I'm saying that Trump has.
This kind of news would have come out of another White House channel.
Does somebody have a TV going in the background?
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry, I forgot.
Yeah, off please. Yes. Oh my, yeah. It's. I'm not necessarily saying that Trump is doing anything nefarious with his announcement that he tested positive, but I'm not saying that I trust it implicitly either.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but this kind of information doesn't come out of Trump and no further. The White House press office would be handling the information.
Yes,
and
so
Other confirmation.
the tweet from Trump after his one about hope, which is 24 minutes ago, says, "Tonight, Flotus and I tested positive for COVID-19. We will begin our quarantine and recovery process immediately. We will get through this," all caps, "together."
Yeah, I saw that tweet. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's going to try to play it off as being no big deal. So
what I'm worried about too is if Trump is telling the truth and he did test positive, I wonder if he is one of those ever so lucky people who is asymptomatic, so that even if this is the truth, he gets to play it off again like it's no big deal. Yeah. That is another concern that I have too. Because
that would be my concern.
That would be my concern, but it's not like he's someone who was ever in top health anyway.
Yeah, but the thing is that so many different people who you would think would show symptoms haven't. It's such a wild, weird, varying disease.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why it's been so difficult is it seems like the only common thread between everybody who gets it, who has symptoms, seems to almost be the loss of smell and the loss of sense of taste. Everything else seems to, the symptoms don't not all of the symptoms attack every single person.
This is very true.
Have you heard if that loss of smell and taste are permanent, as best they can tell so far?
No, people do tend to recover that.
Some people have said that the taste and smell thing lasted for a very, very long time afterwards, but it's not. I don't know how they're wording it for you people, but the official what to look out for over here, it's not a loss of, it's a change in taste and smell. Change in sense of taste and smell. And when this was kind of made official over here, I forget what it was quite a good few months into the whole thing. I thought, oh, that's interesting, because in the beginning, mid-March, happened to me, and I tweeted about it at the time, but I didn't think COVID. My sense of smell went really, really bizarre, and I was unwell for about 10 days, but for about 3 of those days, my sense of smell, didn't lose it. Sorry, yeah, my sense of smell, I didn't lose it, but it was really weird. Really weird.
And Amiga Sweetie, I knew there was a reason I liked you. Amiga said, okay, I'll say it. He is doing something nefarious.
Yeah, like I was telling the chat, I just needed to understand where y'all were coming from with your points. Because I was like, but Trump said it himself on his Twitter account. But yeah,
there's no way he would announce that without there being a reason behind it.
No, Trump often goes off half-cocked and doesn't think about what he's saying. It drives his handlers crazy.
Oh yeah, they've pretty much begged him to not. They've pretty much begged him to hand his phone over multiple times.
Yeah, they have asked him not to tweet without having somebody checking it. He won't do it.
Well, a lot of the tweets are not written by him. They're written by that, what is he called? Dan Scavino.
Oh yeah, you can tell though when it's Trump or when it's one of his staffers, right?
Misspelling, bad grammar, bad sentence structure.
Yeah, if it reads,
he's such a buffoon.
If it reads well, it's not his tweet. Yes.
Yeah, which also I just thought about that. That last tweet was pretty damn coherent.
Yeah, this is what I'm thinking, because it was too sensible, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got the final word in all caps, of course, but apart from that, it doesn't seem to be full of the usual bullshit.
Well, I do not wish him death because of this, but I would really like to see him get serious enough that he's hospitalized, and so that he can't play it off as nothing. You know.
Here's the other scary thought.
Oof.
Is people who do die don't generally die from it within a month. So if he did, he probably wouldn't die until after the election anyway. So yeah, if he was reelected and he died in November, Pence would be president.
Yes, absolutely.
Oh,
and
Pence
one thing you really don't want is someone of that party who is competent.
I was about to say Pence knows how to work the system a lot better than Trump does. They're both dangerous. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, think of having Mitch McConnell as president. That's basically what you would have with Mike Pence as president.
Well, the problem with Pence is that he's a theocrat. He wants the country run based on the Bible's law.
Right.
Well, and he actually wants. I really feel like Pence does use Christianity as a prop to get his way, but not to the same level or extreme of flashiness that Trump seems to, if that makes sense.
Well, remember now that Pence tends more to believe his own ideology. Trump doesn't. Trump is not an atheist because the God Trump believes in is Trump. But Mike Pence, I feel that he does believe in the God the evangelicals claim.
Yeah, you worded it better. It's just, it seems like for Trump, his Christianity is all show.
Oh, it's a
whereas
prop.
Pence does use it as a weapon, but it's not a prop, it's a weapon for him.
Yeah, remember that he did that whole crap thing in Indiana with the HIV, that fiasco where you had the outbreak in Indiana and that went tits up, and he also supports conversion therapy, which is enough to chill the blood of somebody like me.
Yeah, well, the thing is that unfortunately a lot of people in a lot of the wrong places still wholeheartedly believe in conversion therapy. They just haven't gotten the leverage to make it as widespread as they want, because it still fucking happens.
Oh yes, absolutely.
I can name a few churches that still get away with that bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
All in the name of religion. We can, because it's a spiritual matter.
Oh, have you seen the one from melanoma? She's just tweeted. As too many Americans have done this year, Portus and I are quarantining at home after testing positive for COVID-19. We are feeling good, and I have postponed all upcoming engagements. Please be sure you are staying safe and well. You are staying safe, and we will all get through this together.
Yeah, that sounds way more empathetic than she'd actually tweet out. To be honest. I'm still voting as staffers doing those tweets for them.
Well, I feel so bad that he's got it. I think I'm going to try to help him feel better by voting for him.
Like, nobody believed you. Nobody believed you.
But
They're just
but
like, no.
but why would I lie?
You couldn't even say that with a completely straight face, Jenny.
No, I couldn't.
Yeah, you should have said that from behind an avatar, so you might have had a better chance of getting away with it.
I have hated Donald Trump since he first came on the scene in the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
And back in those days, I always had a instant hatred for anybody who was egotistical. And I mean, the first thing he came off as is this egotistical, awful person. And I've just hated him ever since.
Yeah, I never understood his appeal.
He's an absolute piece of shit. He really is.
I think it may be to some extent that there are people who like a bully. And
I definitely have.
Is a bully.
I definitely have family members who like Trump simply because he says the things they wish they could say, because they think that criticism for saying anything trashy or bad or terrible is just the worst thing ever. And I'm like, y'all are just so fucking fragile.
Yeah, we call those
Seriously.
people trailer trash.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hate saying it, but they are coming off that way even though they don't live in trailers.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I've had so many of my family members be like, yay, Trump says what we want to hear. And I'm just like, you're telling me that you don't care about human life. Good job.
I just want to thank Sloth Girl for making me chuckle there. That's a nice one. I like that joke.
Oh, wait a minute. Did I see it? Or no, honey, don't step all over my keyboard. What do we have
But
here?
Mom,
The
it's
drawer.
fun to step on the keyboard.
There. All tangerines have peeled. Okay. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Honey, no, there's nothing in there. At least not for you.
I've killed people for less. Less.
Yeah, sorry.
Although I did really enjoy.
I was trying to get links, so
her cornucopia of crocheted vegetables.
Oh yeah, that I like seeing all the crocheted stuff. That's been brightening my day.
Yay.
Yeah. That and trying to kill my best friends in game. Those two things made my day today.
Yeah. Let's see, Andrew, you missed the Russian rockets coming in to get us. Let's see, Pittsburgh is on fire. What else is there?
And the aliens came back and took back all their Velcro.
But without Velcro, Australia is going to fall off the bottom of the planet.
There you go.
I don't think the aliens care.
Australia isn't real.
It's a figment of your imagination, yeah.
Maybe the aliens are taking Australia back too. It was never ours.
Yep.
I mean, that would explain all the fauna and the flora down there because, whoa, buddy.
We want
not New Zealand.
We want the flora door. No, wait a minute. No, that's not right.
Now, New Zealand doesn't count. New Zealand is just Australia's imaginary friend.
Yeah, there you go.
I want to move to New Zealand and live there.
Honey, you're not
New Zealand seems like a nice place.
It does. Oh my gosh! Oh boy, bad timing. I just ran out of rolling papers.
Oh no!
And my furnace stopped working. I got no heat.
Oh great!
Well, it's
that's
only
serious this time of year.
Well, it's going to stay in the 50s though, so I can get through it for a week or so.
Yeah, as long as you can get it attended to fairly soon.
And I'll take care of it myself. I know how to fix
Do you
those
have one of
things.
those wraps, those fleece wraps or whatever they are?
No, I don't.
Oh,
I don't even own a winter coat or boots.
How do you not own a winter coat?
I was thinking exactly the same thing.
The one I had just finally wore out and was unwearable, and I can't be able to afford to buy a new one. They're expensive.
Well, to tell you the
this is my
absolute
fifth
truth,
year without one, so I'm getting used to it.
I would not be averse to obtaining one from, say, one of those clothing donation sites or something like that. I know, but still, you're not exactly in Florida, okay?
Yeah, I know, but you never find anything my size at those kind of places. You just don't. I'm too big and fat.
Do you have a Amazon wish list, Jenny?
Not a public one, no.
Does Amazon offer winter coats?
I'm sure they
I
do.
imagine.
Because I never looked, so I don't know. I mean, wouldn't
Yeah,
that be
they
great?
do.
Yeah, because the only place I've ever known to go for winter coats is either one of the department stores or Goodwill.
And there's more than Amazon, of course. I mean, we can probably help you get a coat, Jenny.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah,
sure
I
we could.
can once this month is over. I can chip in. It's just I got to get through this month. With Elmer being sick and my paychecks being shorted, I'm trying to avoid doing another GoFundMe myself.
Move beef.
But
So when you say the month is over, you're saying when October is over, right?
yep, when October is over, yep, because once October is over, I will be back to normal and can help everybody out again. But this month, I normally turn in 30 hours per paycheck. I'm only allowed to turn in 10 because of stupid government rules.
I love how that rolls off your tongue. The October is what until October is over. It's just a nice bunch of syllables together. Sorry.
It's okay. But yeah, I will ask for help if I need it. The thing is that I could take Elmer to the vet and only be charged like a small amount of money and get through and not really need it. Or I could take Elmer to the vet and the vet could be like, hi, we have to charge you extra because we had to do X things to check him out.
His physician has released a statement.
Honey, what are you doing and why are you doing it? Sylvia is being Sylvia.
Mr. Trump's physician, Sean Conley, released a statement saying the president and the first lady, quote, are both well at this time and they plan to remain at home within the White House during their convalescence. Rest assured, I expect the president to continue carrying out his duties without disruption while recovering, and I will keep you updated on any future developments. There we go.
Okay. On the one hand, I'm inclined to more accept that, but on the other hand, it sounds dismissive of the severity of COVID. I don't know.
Yeah, the only way you can keep your job with Trump is to be dismissive.
Mm-hmm. We've read his health report thingies, the annual health check things, and they're not exactly truthful.
Well, there's nobody healthier than Donald Trump. He's perfect.
Also, it could be dismissive because we might not get lucky and he might not actually be showing symptoms. Fuck it. See, my bets are on he actually has it, but he's not showing symptoms, and then he's going to turn around and be like, see, it's no biggie, no problem.
Yeah, well,
And that's just
Not at
our
all.
luck in fucking 2020.
yeah, anyone close to him is going to have to be minimizing it, because otherwise it's going to, kind of undermine his whole thing about him telling people that it's not serious and we need to get the states opened up again.
Mm-hmm.
Also, he's been telling the idiots at his Klan rallies that a virus was kind of imminent. Just about after the time of the election, he was saying. Convenient.
I mean, a vaccine.
Yeah.
Well, I think Fauci or somebody came out today and officially said there is no hope that there will be a vaccine by the election day. It will be an extended period afterwards.
Yeah, but he's already discredited Fauci, so none of his supporters are going to believe that.
Well, yeah, they never believe anything. We're not going to change any of their minds.
According to the experts, the last I heard, you were looking at, if it ever happens, the earliest kind of this time next year, before anything is available for the general public that's been tested and proved to be safe.
Because even after they get it tested, if we're lucky, they'll find something that works early in the year next year, but you have to factor in distribution, producing it for enough people, those sorts of things. I've never taken Fauci's statements of we'll have a vaccine by early next year as we'll have it ready for everybody. I always took it as I'm hoping that by early next year we figured out how to fight it and then can work on how to distribute.
Yeah, as far as
That's
being
gonna take a
distributed to the general public, I think the most optimistic would be late spring, early summer.
I was reading
that's seriously optimistic.
A newspaper article this morning about a group of medical people and a group of bioethicists are meeting and discussing distribution and who should have priority and in getting it and that sort of thing. They didn't actually list anything in this article because they're just talking about it yet. They don't have a list, but it really clearly seemed to indicate that they're going to try and get the first responders, the medical people, shot up before anybody else. Which makes
anybody
sense.
who would be working in a hospital or on an ambulance.
Yeah, and then it looks like they're not sure if they're going to give it to the elderly next, even though they're the most susceptible, because it's they're going to die anyway. It's kind of
that's been the attitude the whole time. Same with Black people and same with disabled people. It's like he doesn't care. And I was kind of touching on this before we went on chat. He's running things like a business. If you can't work for him or get your butt to work for him and make him look good, then screw you. You can go off and die. And that's how he's treated everybody who can't do exactly what he wants or doesn't want to do exactly what he wants.
Well, that's not just in terms of this disease, but that's his life attitude. I mean, look how he talks about soldiers and things.
Oh gosh, I saw that email.
He's just a cold-hearted motherfucker.
I saw that email talking about building Trump's army, and I hope that that's a hoax. I could not verify the source. Somebody just said they got it in their email. And part of me is like, it's most likely true, but the other part of me is like, you can make up anything about Trump now.
Well, the way that is worded, I could kind of see some of his staffers, writing that, thinking that if anybody challenges them on it, they can just say it was just a fundraiser thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I certainly I can see that that's something they would have sent out.
Yeah, I want to move to a different dimension where things are different.
I can bring in some good news into this discussion. We could forget about Trump for a while.
Yeah, let's switch topics for a while here. What have you got for us, Jenny?
I got good news that the local hospital here, Gunderson, has taken up my case in terms of medical bills and stuff like that, and has been working with the county I live in here in Minnesota, and have gotten me covered under the Medicaid. So I have Medicare and Medicaid.
Oh, good.
Which means it should take care of the 80-20 thing.
Yay!
Yeah, you should get some stuff you need taken care of now.
Yeah, because you told us that you didn't have, that you barely had enough to make groceries, and then they were demanding that you pay bills for your medical shit.
Yeah. So I might be going in for surgery to get a defibrillator installed.
Yay!
I guess that's a good thing, right?
Well, it's better than dying. But you know.
No, don't say shit like that to me, man. I'm looking forward to it.
Not if we got anything to say about it.
You know, one of these days I have to do this, and I've been thinking about doing this, and I'm really and truly and seriously and everything. When, you know, and please don't take this the wrong way. When people say, "We don't want to lose you, we don't want to see you die," that's, you know, when anyone says that to anyone, who are they thinking of? Are they thinking of that other person, or are they thinking of themselves?
Both.
Oh yeah, I know it's selfish.
I fully admit that shit is selfish. Constantly. Because I say this as somebody who wonders whether or not I want to survive some of this shit.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is that I think there's a balance to be had in a weird sense. Because on the one hand, yeah, it is selfish. But on the other, that's at the end of the day, I also fully admit that that's not my decision. It'll hurt like hell, but that's not my decision.
I just want to live long enough to get fucked.
I mean, I know, for example, how much I hurt when Jeff died, and I did not, you know, and I don't like a world without him, and I'm very selfish when I think of that. You know, I'm not thinking of him necessarily. So you know, I get that. I mean, I'm even, if there's any guilt to be had, I'm even guilty of it.
Well, I don't think any of us should feel guilty about that. It's just, it's feelings. We have them. They're weird.
Feelings. Whoa. Anyway.
Listen, feelings are weird. I know. I have been dealing with lots of them all day today and discussions of them.
Oh, yay. Because I run hot and cold on the prospects of living and dying. Okay, I mean, let's face it. My death is a lot closer than I would have thought it was, say, even a year ago. So it's kind of been on my mind lately.
Well, like I said, I'm just not ready to die. I'm not afraid of it and that stuff, but I'm not ready. I'm too young.
Well, there's the interesting thing, you know, is I find myself going back and forth with, okay, number one, I'm ready because the world has gone to shit and I'm not sure I want to live in it. But then again, I get the other thoughts with, there's stuff I don't want to leave behind. There's stuff I don't want to miss. Believe it or not. So, I've got both of those things running.
I'm sorry, I'm not laughing at you, Diana. I am poking around in places I shouldn't be.
No, I didn't think you were. It's no problem. Oh my, oh my, oh my.
Yeah, I have a tendency on these streams. I have a tendency on these streams to listen to y'all and read stuff at the same time, because focusing on one thing at a time kind of bores my brain. And so I was reading something about the Mormons sending a card to the White House, well, ex-Mormons actually, saying, we were taught how to be passive-aggressive. Maybe we should send cards that say, I hope your racism clears up quickly, XOXO, to the White House.
Yeah, all right. Sloth Girl, thank you. And Mr. Bear, thank you so much, really, for the sentiment. I appreciate that much. And to tell you the absolute truth, I cannot imagine a world without me in it. And that's something that I think about, because this is the interesting thing. When I would talk to my ex about death and dying, because we would occasionally have discussions about this years ago, she would tell me, just think of being in going under the knife, being in surgery, how you lost consciousness and that whole thing. And yeah, but here's the point. The anesthesiologist reached up and, snapped the little valve or whatever that is. And, it was like a light switch turning off. But I know that happened because it turned back on. When I'm dead, there will be no me to appreciate that fact ever. And I find it difficult to wrap my head around that. I still find myself saying, gee, what's it going to be like to be dead? And it's wait a minute.
Well, Diana, do you remember your dreams every night?
Almost always.
Oh, really? That's
true.
interesting.
Yeah.
Well, how about those nights where you don't remember any dreams?
What?
What about those nights when you don't remember any dreams?
Well, I know about waking the next morning. I know that I was in bed and awake, and then I know that I was in bed and awake, and there was something in between because time passed. If you get where
but none of that you would be aware of unless you didn't wake up.
That's my point. Exactly.
So that's what it's like. It's like going to bed and never waking up, and not knowing it.
There's the whole thing. To appreciate it, you have to have awakened.
Well, yeah, but if once you're dead, though, it doesn't matter if you are aware of it or not.
It's just that thing that because we exist, we always look at things from the prospect or from the point of view of existing. And we are incapable of appreciating non-existence. That's what I find hard to wrap my head around.
That's one of the things that confuses the religious people. They can't wrap their head around that thing, that we simply don't exist anymore. But
yeah.
There's no difference between that and before we were conceived. We didn't exist then.
Right. And I cannot conceive of what that, if you'll excuse fun, I can't conceive of what that was like either.
No, and I don't have a problem with that. I mean, why should we be able to? It makes no sense for us to be able to imagine such a thing.
See, I think I can imagine it. I've thought a lot about death. I've had way too much death in my life. I've lost about 30 or 40 friends over my adulthood to various diseases and accidents and things. And I've just gotten very used to that here today, gone tomorrow kind of thing, and how you'll never see them again, and they don't know that you're never going to see them again, and all that kind of stuff. And for me, that's the same thing as being dead and having that absence of thought. That it's just the line has been drawn and you've crossed over it. It just doesn't bother me anymore. I just don't want it to happen yet. That's all.
Yeah,
I've been kind of faced with the idea that I may not leave anyone behind. I may actually outlive everyone I know.
gosh, I know that feeling because I'm pretty much done.
My brother Gary and I are the oldest living people in my family. We are the patriarch and matriarch of our Morgan lineage.
Gods, that must be fun.
It's weird. It's a weird fucking feeling.
Yeah, I think I've got a better than average chance of beating 100.
Yeah.
So, that means even people who might be 20 or 30 years younger than me, I may outlive them.
Mm-hmm.
I just had another death in my family. My younger brother John's wife, her son was killed a couple of weeks ago by a falling tree.
Ew.
Yeah, well, he was an arborist, and this tree he cut down, and the tree got him back.
Yeah.
Moo. Yeah, but Jenny,
I'm just waiting for the person who loves me enough to take my dead body and throw it to the swamp kitties when I'm gone.
Yeah, okay. I wish we could do that.
I want him to put my body someplace that'll get fossilized, so a couple thousand years from now I can be a museum exhibit.
Okay, I mean, that sounds pretty damn cool. I wish I could do that for you, but I'm probably going to be too grossed out by the smells to come anywhere near.
The coolest place would be get yourself thrown into an Irish bog.
You can be a latter-day Otzi, huh? If you guys...
I've got no problem with leaving my body to science. I mean, take whatever organs and parts somebody living might be able to use, and the rest of it they can do research on.
Did you see the thing
just grind up for lunch?
Yeah.
Did you see the thing that Kate posted about those funky little cocoon things that they put you in underground, and so you become a tree?
The compost.
Yeah, I didn't see Kate posting about, but I know what you mean. That basically they put the body in like a burlap bag and plant a tree over it.
Mm-hmm,
yeah, I've seen that, and I've also seen the meme that says this is how you create haunted forests.
Yeah.
Not that
and I'm good with that idea too. That as long as it gets returned. I'd actually thought about that a couple of decades ago and was wondering, if with all the formaldehyde and entombing the bodies in concrete, are we eroding the planet by keeping this, biological material from being recycled again?
Well, the thing is that formaldehyde's not really needed. It's just to make things look a certain way so that people don't freak out during viewings. It's honestly not needed at all.
It's not needed, but I can tell you how it works over here. If you're not embalmed, you can save a few quid on the funeral process, choosing not to be embalmed. But all that means is the coffin, or casket as you lot call it, has to be sealed. Nobody can come and look at your dead body because obviously it's going to look a mess pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. And you've got disease and all that.
Yeah, well, I mean...
You do also get embalmed if you donate your body to science. If they're going to be cutting you up to teach surgeons and what have you, you have to be embalmed. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, your body's useless after a few days. And even then, they can only use it for about a year. After that, they've got to give it back. I know a little bit too much about this. That's weird.
Yeah.
You remind me that I do have to complete the paperwork and get it in because I would like my body donated to medical science, they might have an interest in my brain because my brain's kind of fucked up, really. That's where the seizure thing came from and everything when I was 18, and it seems to have been a condition. So, and then me being trans, there's, maybe they want to have a look at the brain areas that may or may not be associated with that and that sort of thing.
I saw a documentary a couple of years ago about donating your body to medical science, and it was very interesting. It started off, they're getting a body out of the refrigerated thingamajig and on a trolley, wheeling it away. And the people who were narrating this documentary, there were about 3 people, I think, were the people whose bodies you're looking at. They were the dead people. It genuinely were. They recorded all the narration before they actually passed away and used it.
Tria, yes, that is the Ask a Mortician. Yeah, I love her channel.
Yep.
So that was a very interesting documentary if you're a bit weird like me and you find that kind of stuff interesting. Because it was showing what they were doing, what would happen to your body if it went to, say, a teaching hospital or whatever to be practiced upon. So they did show about the embalming process.
What y'all need to be prepared for is that when you donate yourself to science that way, you don't necessarily go to a research situation, but you may go to a harvesting situation where they do take tissue samples for skin to grow skin in a lab for burn patients, for example. Usually cornea, liver, any of the organs that are possible. And the older you get, the less likely any of them are any good. But you might also get into one of these programs of where they research decomposition. and you get thrown out in the backyard and then they watch what maggots eat you when.
The Body Farm is quite a good place.
Yeah.
I like that place.
Yeah, there actually was a study done in Michigan where basically they just left a human body out in the woods to see what would happen to it. And one of the interesting things they found out is that, deer aren't really vegetarians. If they find a dead body, they'll eat it. So we have deer wandering around in Michigan who have eaten human flesh.
I can't remember where it is in America, but the Body Farm, where that's all they do.
I think it's in Georgia.
And they'll put bodies. I mean, they've got hundreds of bodies outside, and they put them in different positions to watch how they decompose and timing the maggots and all that kind of stuff. And they do a lot of good work because that helps in solving crimes and stuff.
Exactly.
Learning what happens to us in different. If we're just on the ground, if we're slightly covered, if we're underwater, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, well, and similar to what Diana was saying, I was thinking the same thing about, if they can slice up my brain and it can teach them something more about autism, go for it.
Yeah. I think there's more work being done on transness, especially offshore now, than there was, let's say, 30 years ago. But I take it there's still a lot that could be done, a lot to be done. There's a lot less done than should be. And, if I can help that along, I'd be really happy about that.
They really haven't done a lot of serious research on it really until the last 20 years even.
There are a couple of companies in America who specialize in providing body parts to doctors and what have you. So you can find, well, you won't find because you're dead, but somebody in the airport might find your head in a box when they're checking through, or one of your arms or something.
The arm farm. There you go.
Yeah,
Okay,
and see, that's
anytime you want.
with all this kind of stuff. That's the thing that, if they can find out something from your dead body that helps people in the future,
It does, and
it's one last contribution you can make to the world.
You've also got to think back in the Victorian days over here in UK land, even though it was highly illegal, doctors would pay people to go and steal bodies from graves for them to practice on, so they could practice and learn how to do things. Illegal, but without that, where would we be? We wouldn't have learned how to do surgery and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So dead bodies are quite useful. Wish I hadn't said that.
My father, when he died, he insisted on being cremated. And nobody could understand that. My brothers, they had, and I had to explain to him that Dad was claustrophobic, and the idea of him being put in a coffin is just beyond him. What he could take. He didn't want to have to think about that. He wanted to know that he was going to be cremated.
I don't know, this whole thing about that, to get mixed with stuff from a cow, and what do they do? Put you in a pitcher or something, or what? I don't know. Okay, you can shoot me if you want.
It's actually the common way to do it over here. Burials are not very common anymore.
Well, I mean, you're literally running out of space for them, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, this is a thing that annoys me. Putting people in holes in the ground takes up an awful lot of space.
Yeah.
It's a waste. And we've pretty much stopped doing it. The only people who do it are the people who can afford to do it because it's incredibly expensive. Whereas a cremation, hell of a lot cheaper.
I have a garden plot, shall we say. My dad gave it to me. Him and my mom bought adjoining plots when they were younger. And my dad, because he was being cremated, didn't need it, so he gave it to me.
My mum and dad used to have a little caravan that they would visit at weekends.
The one that gets me are the people...
Sorry, there's still a photograph of my mum holding a plastic bag, transparent, full of my dad's ashes before she sprinkled it on the little garden outside her caravan.
The one that gets me are the people who have themselves, have their bodies set on fire and then have the ashes buried. My ex's mother requested that happen, be cremated and then the ashes be buried. And it's like, you're still taking up space in the ground. Why not just scatter the ashes, really and truly? But, oh well.
Yeah, but the vessel for holding ashes is maybe the size of a large peanut butter jar.
Yeah, but they still use the same size grave site.
Well, this particular one, because I was there when it was done, the grave site was actually the size of. Does anybody remember those boxes where you would get the milk delivered on your doorstep, about a cubic foot?
You mean the milk chute?
Not the milk chute, the one that went on your back step.
Yeah, no, I know.
Oh, yeah, sure.
The insulated
boxes.
boxes
Was about the size of that box. So maybe about a cubic foot or so.
Yeah. Just
this was hard when it was this.
Just throw me to the gators. I probably won't get the joy of dying by gator chomp in real life because I'm not that much of an idiot. But my body can feed them afterwards.
Well, that was one thing I used to think about when I was in my suicidal period, that I would go up to one of Wisconsin's national forests and hike my way deep into it and take my life there so that the animals and earth could reclaim my person.
Moo. Now there's the other one. Okay. Why do they, when they talk about a person who commits suicide, why do they say he took his own life? You're fucking dead. You're not taking the damned life, okay? If anything, you're throwing it away. Yes, I'm being a bitch about this, but what the hell? Oh, well.
Well, actually, what I'd like to do is have a Viking funeral, but they won't allow that.
Oh, man, wouldn't that be fun?
Just load up a boat full of wood and stick my body on top, light it on fire, push it out to sea.
Yeah.
Odds are the boat's going to burn and I'm going to sink to the bottom and be eaten by crabs before the body actually burns. But what the hell?
Okay, Geosam is an interesting question. How do they bury someone who has on money?
No money.
No money.
No money. Aren't there still potter's fields for that?
Yeah, yes, there are. In fact, during the pandemic here, some of the earliest photographs that were coming out were massive grave sites that would fill, cover like 100 bodies or more at a time.
There's a famous
they were stacking wooden coffins 3 high.
There's a famous one in New York, isn't there, that's still in use? It's an island.
Yeah.
And the people who haven't got money or relatives who can pay, they will be shipped out and buried there.
Yeah, because it's a health issue, the government will handle it, but they basically just do the bare minimum. They basically go, okay, we're going to do this with you, see ya. Which, I mean, I don't really blame them. But
I understand that in most potter's fields, they also double and triple up, where they the first one who goes in, goes down 10 feet. The next one goes down 8 feet. The next one goes down 6 feet.
So they stack them like apartments.
Yeah.
There were photos recently of, I can't remember its name, but this particular island, New York, where they bury all these poor people. And throughout the years, it's been used for different kinds of burials during plagues, epidemics, whatever, all that. But there were photos recently of them burying some people who died from the COVIDs. And I think they're still using prisoners to dig the graves. So the prisoners were all suited up with the PPE and
No. These are huge holes. They were being dug by bulldozers and
no.
shovels.
Look at this one. You can look at the recent aerial photography of it that's happened recently.
Yeah, these came out back in March.
All right. Okay.
Okay, and I went ahead and looked it up, and it is called Hart Island in the Bronx.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It is the little-known home to City Cemetery, a potter's field where the bodies of the unclaimed or unknown are buried. New York City bought the island in 1868 and has used it as a mass graveyard since 1869. Yeah, now that's the interesting thought that I've had. And of course, were I to not get the paperwork done in time or whatever, I'd end up in a potter's field because there's nobody to care about what happens to my remains once I'm dead. I mean, what family, if you put it in quotes, I still have, aren't talking to me. They haven't talked to me in close to 10 years. So I'm on my own. And okay, you put my remains in a potter's field. I don't give a shit. I'm dead. It's kind of nice, though, that nobody has to worry about the expense. Really? No individuals have to worry about that?
But that was the other reason my dad wanted cremation, because it only cost $1,200.
Only. Yeah.
Well, that takes a lot of damn fuel to burn a body.
Yeah.
You got to get that sucker up to 2,000 degrees for like 5 to 8 hours, I think.
It's pretty much an endothermic process. Yeah. where you have to constantly supply the heat to burn the body up. And yeah, it's really great that I don't have anybody to worry about, and there's nobody to worry about me. That's beautiful. I love it. I really do.
Well, like I've always said, when I die, put me in a hefty bag, set me on the corner, and come Thursday, I'm the city's problem.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's one of the things I have to still put some money aside for, is to get an attorney to draw power of attorney for me. Because Goth Girl's like the only one who's really going to understand what should happen if I die in an accident, and I really don't want my biological family involved in most of it.
Yeah, I can't prevent my family from doing what they want, but I kind of want it made known that even though I understand that what the respectful thing to do is to go to whatever funeral plans that they come up with for me, but I'm basically going to tell my closest friends, look, I get there's pressure for you to be like all respectful and like pay your respects and all that shit, but honestly, it's not me. I want you to go to a restaurant. I want you to order a shit ton of food, and I want you to sit down and enjoy each other's company for a while without the sermony bullshit and without any of the other stuff. Cry if you need to, rage if you need to, do whatever you need to, but don't do it at a goddamn chapel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I just want them to have a good party. Lots of food, good booze. Just everybody, sit around and share stories about me.
That's what we did with my dad about 2 months after he was all dead and cremated and stuff. We got together at my brother's house and put him on the coffee table and just all kind of had drinks and talked for a little bit about this or that.
Yeah,
And
I had the privilege of being involved in something like that. When her stepfather died, my step-grandfather, if you will, a number of the cousins went to a nearby restaurant after one of the days of viewing, and we were around the table eating and drinking and telling stories and the whole thing. And the waitress that was taking care of us was really favorably impressed. She said, "I really like that idea," is what she said, because we had the good stories and everything and all the good memories and all that shit. It's just too bad that I really can't provide for something like that. I'd like to set a fund aside for any, but then again, there's nobody around here such that they would all get together and have their party. I mean, my friends are all over the world, and how do you get people from Minnesota and Queensland and let's see, in Liverpool and whatever else, wherever everybody is? How do you get all those people together and let them have their fun? Oh well, what are you going to do? And that's the other problem I have. The hell is that?
apparently that's become a thing in the funeral business, is to put them online now. So
okay.
People are all gathering together and doing their thing, but it's also being streamed.
Well, we've got restrictions on how many people can attend a funeral because they're going crazy over here with locking us up, as you know.
Well, I mean, now, yeah. Well, the other thing, in Purple, what you had mentioned, I've got a little bit of a problem with this. I would like to assign power of attorney. There's no one in the immediate vicinity that I can count on.
Yeah.
There are people I can count on, but they are several hundred miles away at the closest.
Yeah, well, again, it's more reasons why I think we should get you here so that there is somebody who can drive over and check on you, and if something happens, can take Sylvia in and so forth.
Yep, come to Minnesota. Its medical situation is so much better than the crap you're going through right now, and the neighborhoods are better, and there's no reason you should be living there.
And don't say money is a problem, because honestly, when you transition, you're going to have to start over the process anyways of getting your medical shit done, for one. And for another, we can pay movers directly.
Well, people paid for us to move, so I'm sure we won't have any problem getting a fund up for Diana.
Hell
and
yeah.
I'll drive there for a week to help her pack and rent a U-Haul to bring it all back here.
I've thought about stuff like this, and a thought that continually comes up in my head: I'd really like to die in a familiar setting. And okay, I know that that's not all that. What's the word for it? Easily done. I know. I mean, if I could, I'd really like to die at what was my grandparents' cottage. But that's absolutely not going to happen, of course. And the place isn't even all that recognizable as what I remember anyway.
And you live a new place, move to a new place and live there a couple of years. Now it's familiar.
I haven't got a couple of years. Honestly, I don't think I have that long.
I am going to say this one thing. I am scared as hell what will happen to Elmer if something were to happen to me.
Mm-hmm.
If you won't do it for yourself, do it for Sylvia, because you don't have anybody who's going to check and figure out if Sylvia is going to be okay.
Well, no, here's the thing. I don't think I have a choice in the matter. I'm dying.
That's what I'm saying, though.
It's a matter of when.
Yeah, but that's the thing, is if you don't have anybody you can trust near you, what's going to happen to Sylvia? Because Sylvia's probably going to outlive you.
Oh, yeah, I'm certain of that. I don't know. Yeah, I'm being all kinds of fun tonight, am I not?
Yeah, well, it's all right, but it's just somebody has something to say about the matter.
Well, I still think on the off chance that you're going to live longer than you think, I think you should get your ass here where you can be taken better care of.
Well, okay, here's the other interesting thing is that I've had some discussions with people who have been in treatment for kidney disease and other things like that. I've come to the conclusion that the treatment is worse than the condition. As we speak right now, the decision is that I'm not going for dialysis. Okay.
Yeah, that's understandable. Dialysis is hard as fuck.
So that limits my time right there.
Yeah, it does. I'm just saying that you're not necessarily going to prolong your life by moving, but my concern is that we're not going to have a way as friends who care about you and Sylvia to make sure that, both of you are taken care of after the fact.
Now, there's a lot to consider.
I'll be right back.
Is that a threat?
Well, there's also the question that with better medical care, even if you don't live any longer, it may make the actual transition process less unpleasant.
There's a lot to think about because I'm not trying to give anybody a hard time here, but I don't want to be trapped in a situation where I'm completely dependent upon someone. I've been in situations like that, and even in the best of circumstances, if they go tits up, boy, do they ever go tits up.
Yeah, I know what you mean on that.
I'm not saying that would happen with a situation where I would move to Minnesota or something like that, but it's something I have to think about, really. I mean, what if I turn out to be a total arsehole and you decide that you can't stand me?
Nah, I'm not believing you could do that.
Oh, trust me.
And I'm not saying that I would want to live in the same house with you. I'm just
of course
saying
not.
have you in the same city so I could drive over a couple times a week and check on you.
Oh, right. No, absolutely not. Well, the way it goes, HUD, if it still exists at the time, would not allow that. We'd have to be married or something, and it takes a lot to prove that.
Yeah.
So,
I pretty much decided I'm not likely to ever live with anyone again.
Yeah, I know
I
that.
might get in a relationship, but they've got to have their own apartment that they can go back to.
Yeah, I like that idea because I've thought of that sort of thing as well, and I cannot say that I would even know how to live with someone anymore.
I live with two other people. I love them dearly. I wish I could live alone, but that's never going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I just know for me, I need a lot of downtime. I need to just sit by myself quietly for hours at a time. And when you're living with someone, they generally won't let you do that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
My problem is not so much that they won't let me have my downtime. It's the only way I can be myself in this house is by hiding in my room.
No rubber dicks. Nubby is not frozen. You can barely see motion there.
Yep.
Yeah, he might be asleep. Hey, honey, are you awake?
No, he's moving. He turned his head.
He's looking at me like, what the fuck are you?
Yeah, I don't know. There's still some secret hope that maybe someday, and this is a really wild hope because I doubt very seriously we would be able to afford two separate places. But the dream has always been I get an apartment and my sister gets an apartment and we just happen to live next door or down the hall from one another. But I doubt that's ever going to happen.
Yeah, well, that's why Sloth Girl and I had to arrange it so we could both get apartments in the same building, but have separate apartments.
Yeah, but she doesn't make enough to not have a roommate. She never will.
Yeah.
Yeah, each of you is, how did the woman in Texas describe it? Each of you is the town drunk, right?
Oh yeah, we're completely drunk. We spend all of our bounteous riches on alcohol and drugs and all of that fun stuff.
Yeah, I love that bullshit. I mean, those of us who are in, there are two of us that I know of in this chat who are living in affordable housing, and I don't know either of us to be the town drunk. Jenny, are you in public housing? Would you be the third?
No, I'm in a private apartment.
Okay.
But I am the town sloth, So.
Oh man!
Well, somebody's got to be.
Town.
Well, see, the COVID stuff kicked in just after I moved here, so I didn't have time to apply for the position.
There you are.
I just love the fact that it's just like you must be you have to be doing something terrible with the money. It's like, no, you're not giving me enough money in the fucking first place to do anything with.
Yeah,
I'm still
absolutely.
gonna once my dad is gone, I'm still gonna have to work 2 jobs while caregiving for my sister because the government will probably pay for somebody to come in and do some of the work, but they only pay me for like 15 hours a week, and I do 40 with her every week.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, and the people who are so, down on anybody collecting assistance don't get the idea that if your rent is 2/3 of your income, that doesn't leave enough money to pay the electricity and buy food.
Right.
It's
All
not
they
even
worried about is my taxes are in your pocket. And it's like, fuck you.
my sister doesn't even make enough. Like, my sister doesn't even make enough to cover half the rent for this house.
Well, she's probably getting what, about 700 a month? Not even that much, huh?
That's hilarious. I wish we were. I wish we were getting way more than that, actually. But yeah, no, she's not even getting that.
Son of a bitch. Because no, I get 1,100 and change, and it's tight with me.
She gets a little over 500 a month.
Fun.
Yeah. She gets a little over 500 a month, and I get paid a little bit more than that a month to do the job with her.
She's got the vultures hanging over her with, okay, let's make sure that you don't get 50 cents extra this month,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They have deducted her disability multiple times over the year for bullshit reasons. And because it's the government, you can't really fight it when they do it. Because basically when you go to fight it, they basically look at the computer and says, but our numbers say this.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I doubt very seriously that she's ever going to make enough to justify being in her own place, as much as I would like to give her one.
Yeah.
Because I could theoretically, have her just live next door to me and just basically do the cooking and the cleaning for her, and she'd be pleased as punch to have her own space for a while. But I don't think I'm ever going to be able to provide that. I doubt it very seriously. And she's not going to ever make enough money to do that herself, so...
Yeah, the only possibility for that working is if you could get her into some kind of subsidized housing situation.
Yeah, and those usually have long-ass waiting lists, and because I exist, they're more likely to turn her down.
Yeah, because they're going to say, no, you can live with your sister.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if there are family members they think that she could live with.
Mm-hmm. And if there's family members to foot the bill, which there is, I don't mind doing that per se. It's just I wish that there was an ability to give her her own space, because I think she might function actually fairly well in that situation.
Move beef.
Yeah, it might help her to become more independent.
And more confident. And if I'm right around the corner and she can just like bang on the wall or call me and I can be there in like 2 minutes flat, I think she'd actually do a lot better than living underneath me, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though I am a safety net and I never can really be that far away, because she does need me in certain ways, I still think that she might actually thrive a little bit more if she weren't in the same exact space as me.
Oh, absolutely. I can see that being the case. Yes.
Yeah.
And it's not so much a case of forcing her to thrive alone. She will have the ability, the opportunity.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work, then I just move her back in with me. Simple.
There you go.
I feel like she's a lot smarter and more capable than she gives herself credit for, and she's a lot more smarter and capable than a lot of people give her credit for, in general, give her credit for.
Oh, I can definitely see the latter. It's just totally amazing how people in general will underestimate a disabled person's capabilities.
Well, I mean, she's really, really quiet. She goes nonverbal sometimes. She has trouble expressing herself. I didn't realize all of those things for a long time because we just developed our own language where we understood each other. Like, I can tell her body language and people will tell me that I'm overreacting, and I'm like, no, she's telling me shit. You just don't know how to listen.
Yeah. Oh my, just damn it. Yeah, one of the symptoms of the condition I'm currently in is very itchy skin, and God, it's very annoying. Oh well, what are you gonna do?
It's a good thing I don't keep normal hours because it's 1:30 in the morning and the guy above me is thumping around. If I was actually trying to sleep at this time of night, I'd have to complain about him.
Okay. Wait a minute. For Sylvia, what a puzzle box?
Yeah.
I'm reasonably sure she'll love it.
Yeah, it's just a box that's got like some channels and cutouts in it, and it's got three holes in the edges. So you drop treats in there, and she has to figure out how to get them to come out the edge holes.
Would that be kind of a feline version of a busy box?
Yeah, basically. Yeah, I had bought it for Sammy, and it's like, yeah, he didn't bother with it. He never tried to get the treats out of it.
Elmer would probably tear the box apart getting the treats, to be honest. Like, he would be seriously interested, but he'd just be like, no. See, this is too much work. I'm just going to rip the box up and now I can get the stuff inside.
There you go. Gives you an idea of, I'm slightly dyslexic. The first thing I saw with your comment was, now you know how I feed Perp. And it's like, wait a minute, no.
Yeah, well, Sloth Girl said that at some point she's going to come out there in the morning and Petunia's going to have it flipped upside down and just say, solved it, bitch. But actually, in the design of it, they did figure out, as far as, cats trying to rip it up, because the sides aren't just like one layer of cardboard. The sides are like an inch thick of the cardboard on edge, like they use for the scratching pads.
Okay. I don't know. That might be fun for me to get for Elmer when I stop having to restrict his food. Because I have to watch him with this food now. He is on a medicine for the next couple of weeks where he is not allowed to eat 2 hours before or 2 hours after so that it can properly align to his stomach and get rid of the stomach ulcers that he has.
Yay.
He gets fed plenty. Don't worry, he gets fed plenty. I make sure of it.
And so does he.
But he has been hiding. He realizes that he's back on a medicine that restricts his food. And he has started to put food stashes around the room. And I have to watch him like a hawk to make sure that he doesn't get to those food stashes.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Well, I've just been trying to find something to mostly, keep Sammy stimulated. I think he just gets bored too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I did pick up another thing that I haven't tried out yet. It's like some little stuffed mice that have a opening in the bottom for you to like put treats in so that when they
Oh,
toss
yeah.
them around, the treats will fall out.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it takes. Make sure that you give Sammy plenty of space. It takes a while for them to figure it out sometimes if that's not their normal thing. It took me about good 2-3 weeks for Elmer to realize that if he smacked the mice a certain way, it'd actually, give him treats.
Yeah, well, that's like with Petunia. We're working her up to it, so it's like we'll give her half of her treats just in a pile, and then the other half in the box.
Well,
She gets a bit of a freebie, and then she has to work at it.
Yeah, it took Elmer a bit, but once he figured out, he loved it because he actively enjoys hunting before he eats. In fact, he demands that we play. It's
you.
okay. About a month ago, I had to put him on the same medicine. So I didn't realize that he had started to hide food stashes because I would leave out his bowl at night after he's done with his medicine, because getting him to eat at all a good portion of the time is a fight. So I had been leaving his food bowl out, and he had been taking food out of his bowl and putting it in his dried food and putting it in different places, so that if he wound up getting food restricted again, he would have stashes to go to if Mommy decided to be a meanie head and not feed him.
Yeah, I've had shelter cats that had done that because apparently they didn't get fed every day before.
Yeah, like this is from previous, and I think I found all of his food stashes. I do not leave out food at night for him. I hate the fact that I can't do that. I make sure to feed him really well before bed. But yeah, he realizes that he's being restricted. So while he's eating, I watch him like a hawk, and when he's done eating, I put the food bowl away.
Oh my! I don't know if this one would know what to do if I had to restrict. And she's as long as I should say, as long as she's had me, she's been free fed.
I used to have this German Shepherd who would eat. I mean, just ravenous in her eating behavior. She would kill a bowl of dog food in less than 30 seconds. And that's not good. German Shepherds have a lot of problems with stomach twist and stuff. And so you got to make sure that they don't eat too much too fast. And so the recommendation is you put tennis balls in the bowl, so the dog can't just rah, 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 all over everything instantly, that it has to work itself in between the balls to get the food.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, well, it took her about 2 meals to figure out, well, I'll just take the fucking balls out and leave them out. Duh.
Yeah, German Shepherds are not known for being stupid.
No, they are not.
Yeah, I've always been one to free feed the cats, and a lot of people say it's not good for them, but I've never had a problem with it. That some of them, like I say, I've had shelter cats that, yeah, they would gorge themselves initially, but eventually they get the idea the food's always there and it stops being a big deal to them.
Well, the thing is that with his IBD flare-ups, if he's feeling sick early, if he's feeling like not eating earlier in the day and I can't get him to eat, I'm not going to force him to wait hours if he decides all of a sudden, oh shit, I'm actually hungry, Mom. Especially during flare-ups.
Yeah. Well, and
so that's why that doesn't work for me.
Petunia's one too. She was a shelter rescue. And she would panic if she didn't see the cat food bag. That we tried putting it in the closet, and all night long she would be beating at the closet door.
Mm-hmm.
But if we left it out, even if her dish was full, she'd chew a hole in the bag.
Ah, yes, I know that behavior all too well.
So I started putting it in a plastic bucket. So she freaked out again because she didn't see it there. So I wound up taking the empty cat food bag and wrapping it around the bucket and taping it up so that she could see the labels. So she knew that was her food. And since then, she's been fine with it.
Okay,
As
then.
long as she can see the bag there, so she knows there's more food.
Yeah.
You know, she free feeds now, and she hasn't been putting on any weight.
Yeah, Sylvia is really good with the free feeding. She's been at a stable, more or less 6.5 pounds for ever since technical adulthood. Because when I found her, I'm guessing she was about 12 weeks old. And she weighed, I think, about 6 pounds, if I remember correctly, or 5.5. She was tiny.
Okay. Yeah, Doc had to drop out because he said his phone was going dead.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just it's different. Go ahead, Diana.
Enter mentions that are kitties on a raw diet. I remember that Babka would have her kitties on a raw diet, especially a lot of raw liver, and gods, they loved it. And yeah, you had just to give them a little bit, and then whatever they would eat, and then you couldn't have any. At least the last time I weighed Sylvia, she was a bit under 7 pounds. For some reason, the tiny kitties tend toward me. The heftier kitties tended toward Melody. Ariel weighed 22 pounds at her heaviest. But her littermate, Miranda, was another one. Just basically 6 pounds all her life.
Elmer's somewhere in the middle. He ranges between 10 and 12 pounds, depending on the season.
You got me thinking, hey, honey.
Yeah, what GeoSam's asking about, they do have dishes that have multiple compartments and a cover with a timer. So it'll just expose one compartment for a specific amount of time.
Oh, I've seen some bowls designed with various pockets and textures in the bowl that still gives the same amount of food and everything, but instead of it being all wide open, it's kind of semi-covered by walls and that sort of thing that the dog has to carefully get around to get the food, as opposed to just easily scoop it out.
Oh my word! You've put on a little bit of weight.
Yep. Yeah. And I have seen some pet dishes that they have a bunch of posts that are part of the bottom of the dish. So they have to eat around them, and they can't just scarf everything real fast that way.
Yep. That's
I just weighed Sophia, and she came in at about 8 pounds.
Well, I mean, we are gearing up towards getting to the cold season. During the winter months, Elmer's around 12 pounds. During the summer months, he's around 10. Right now, he's about 9 pounds, I think. And the vet and I are both not very happy because he should be bulking up, not losing weight.
Okay, then.
Yeah, when I had Sammy to the vet, was that in June, that I was surprised that he's actually gotten up to being a bit over 10 pounds now. So he's put on a little weight, but he was like 8 pounds when I got him like 3.5 years ago.
Moo. Oh my. And I have to do a little weight losing. In my night dress, I'm coming in at about 208. That's a bit more than I want.
I misread and I had thought that I had lost weight. I haven't. I am now at 220, I think.
Okay.
So I really need to work on how I'm handling my food during COVID, because I can't keep gaining weight like this. I should at the very least stay where I'm at, although it'd probably be better to lose.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I've been as heavy as 240, and I rather like having lost the when I was totally surprised last July at the Ark Encounter protest. I was very surprised to find out that Aaron Ra and I weighed the same. And it's like I'm 3 inches shorter than a girl. So come on, kids, we have to do something about this.
Yeah. I'm shorter than both of y'all, and yeah, no, I need to lose some weight.
Yeah, I've been a little concerned about it just because with the COVID, I wasn't very active this summer. Whereas normally in the summer I'm outside most of the day, working and carrying materials and tools around a lot.
There's the thing, something about where I live now, that I miss is I can't do the bicycle the way I used to. When I was living in the other apartment in the Homewood neighborhood, when I wanted to go somewhere, I could just wheel the bike out and go. But here, number one, the hills are so crazy, and I'm old and that sort of thing, and I just can't do the hills anymore. And even so, the only way in and out of here is a U.S. highway, and you don't want to bike a U.S. highway. Okay, they try to kill you. And no, I'm not. What's the word? I'm not exaggerating.
No, I believe you.
Yeah, there was one guy who crossed 2 lanes of traffic to try to run me off the road. The one time I tried to bike US 30.
Oof. Yeah, no, biking around here, it depends on what part of town you're on. My part of town, it's almost impossible because there are lots of places that don't even have sidewalks.
No.
There's a 4-way stop here where people run red lights all the damn time, and I'm surprised we don't have more car wrecks.
Okay. No, I was not at you, Tria. I like Sloth Girl's comment that Purple isn't handling his tool as much.
Jeez.
Oh, scheisse. I don't even know what that's like anymore. It's amazing what HRT will do to your libido.
Yeah, well, that was, again, part of the reason I was supposed to move was to be able to have a chance for dating again.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Good luck with that nonsense. Sorry.
I don't know if we're doing that for a while yet.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I've getting invites now to groups, but it's kind of like, all parties have been suspended until further notice.
Yep.
Yeah, I have friends who are they're not like being incredibly risky, but they're being slightly more risky than I am. And they're not pressuring me, but they give me invites, and I'm just like, no, I can't risk bringing this shit home to Hufflepuff. I cannot. I cannot risk it.
Yeah, well, and that's how I feel about it, but, I can't risk any group activities because just bringing it back in the building here, I know there's a lot of people in this building who are elderly, several people on oxygen tanks.
Okay, then.
I mean, we got a simple cold 2 weeks ago. She got a simple cold 2 weeks ago, and we've already passed it around the house. Just a cold. It's not COVID.
Yeah.
I know it's not. It's
thank you for
cold.
reminding me.
But it's just like, that tells me, I'm like, my sister caught a cold, brought it home, gave it to us. That tells me how easily, we're talking about an even more easily spread virus. That tells me that if it gets into my house, we're all doomed.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and well, Sloth Girl, even in previous winters, a standard flu can put her down for a month.
Yeah, okay then. And yes, thank you. You remind me that I do need to get the flu vaccine because I try to make a point of that every year, just to be on the safe side.
Yep, I've got an appointment at my clinic next week to get the seasonal vaccine.
Oh my! So 6'2" and 190. Those are some nice numbers you got going there. Well, I agree with you, Tria. Schools should not be open at all. No.
Yeah,
No, they
no.
shouldn't. Because, I mean, and it's not the kid's fault, but when you put a bunch of children in a school, they pass all their damn germs to one
Yep.
another.
Yep.
And again,
With a normal virus or bacterial infection.
Yeah, that's, it's not something that's even theoretical. You can point to any previous year in any state, and yeah, schools are always great for outbreaks of the flu.
Well, and the thing is that, like, when I was living with my roommate and she had 3 children, we were sick all the freaking time. I moved back here with my dad and my little sister, and the amount of times I got sick went down by 2/3.
Yeah.
And again, it's not the children's fault. It's just, that's how it works when you send all of those kids to school.
Yep, and we're seeing it with colleges too, that there's being, clusters with the college reopening.
Yeah, you open dorms, and 2 weeks later, everybody is infected, and it's come on, guys.
Well, and it doesn't help that certain popular people, in order to keep their popularity, are hosting parties and huge social gatherings.
Yeah. And that's also kind of, part of the school atmosphere is that, that the colleges, you put a bunch of college students together, they're going to have parties.
Oh, absolutely. I remember.
Yeah, they are. They are, although it doesn't help, especially in places like Florida, where your governor knows damn well there's a pandemic going on, but still keeps the beaches open because the college kids need spring break.
The Senate is a piece of shit, but that's another story.
Well, it's not that the college kids need spring break, it's that your state's economy is so based on tourism.
Yeah, but you know what? We could switch. There are several other economies. They just don't want to switch.
Oh, yeah.
There's oranges, there's cattle, there's insurance, there's fishing, there's military, there's like, it would be a rough transition, don't get me wrong, but we could transition and still have a quote unquote economy, even though that's not really the most important thing right now, but they don't wanna.
Yeah, and Sloth Girl had brought this point up before too. It's like, yeah, you send, like 10-year-olds to school with the masks, and they're going to decide somebody else has got a cool mask and trade them.
Oh yeah, kids are trading stuff all the time. Kids trade stuff all the time.
It's interesting, though, that you mentioned masks, because I got a delivery notice from the USPS a couple of days ago. I finally picked it up, and there's a box full of stuff, capital S, from the Aetna insurance company that handles my Medicare supplement or whatever you want to call it. There's a box full of shit, man. It's really amazing. 2 masks, a shitload of hand sanitizer. Yeah, I guess they think I'm in. They think I'm in need of this stuff. What do we have? Masks, hand sanitizer.
Well, the insurance company is probably being pragmatic that if they can encourage more of the people they cover to use this stuff, they'll be paying out less.
Yeah, I mean they're even giving me toothpaste for some stupid reason. You know, it's not like I can't afford that stuff. But that's the one good thing that they've actually done for me. It's amazing. Because I think you guys remember the only way I got the got the co-payments paid for that biopsy was through your generosity, all you guys out there. Yeah, because the biopsy I had was what, a $300 copay. Nothing like it.
Also,
yeah, I'm sure it's good to hear that they're actually providing kids with computers, because I know that is one of the problems. Well, especially in low-income neighborhoods, some of the kids don't have internet at home. And yeah, a lot of them were using the public libraries for internet access, but the libraries are closed.
Yeah, that's not the case here. Our state is basically, you fuckers are all on your own. Good luck.
Well, as far as affording the Chromebooks, isn't that by a special grant? It would not normally be the case, or am I wrong on that?
It's a special grant, and you can apply for it, and you'll most likely get approved. It's just your state or county has to fucking care enough to apply for said grant. Like, it's not automatically handed out. You have to basically say, yes, I want it, or no, I don't.
Mm-hmm.
And basically in my state, certain counties are asking for help. Certain counties are taking whatever help that they are being given, but others are not. My city is one of the ones who's trying to take COVID seriously, but our governor's not competent enough to understand what to do.
Well, he's an idiot, but yeah, that's...
Yeah, he's an idiot. But here's the thing about being in Florida. I've seen the difference between the damage an idiot does and the damage somebody who is an idiot and trying to do damage does. And there is a slight difference.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, the problem is the people who have big stock portfolios are more concerned with getting the economy going again so they get their stock dividends than they are with how many people die.
And for instance, I fucking hate DeSantis. He has caused harm. However, I don't think he's hateful. I think he's just an idiot. The previous governor, I don't know whether or not there's been a governor in between, but the previous governor got fined like hell for defrauding Medicaid and Medicare through his medical company that he owned, and is now a current state senator.
Yeah.
He moved up from governor to senator. As much as I hate DeSantis, if I had a choice between the two, I'll take DeSantis.
Okay.
I will not take Rick Scott back. In fact, Rick Scott needs to have his ass booted out of government, period.
Oh, he needs to be
Skeletor.
Yeah, you would think that, once they're convicted of a crime like that, it should bar them from holding public office.
You would think. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, people said, well, he acquired the company. It's not really his fault. He didn't know what was going on. And I was like, look, if he can't fucking figure out what's going on in his own company, why do you think he's competent enough to run a state?
Moo.
Yeah.
Like, even if he wasn't, even if he didn't actually do the defrauding and he just happened to acquire the company, he didn't do his research. He didn't
Well, and
know.
that's always the bailout thing, is that, you know, they say like the CEO didn't know this was going on. And my question is, well, it was his company. Shouldn't he have known?
Yeah, it's like that's not something that's not acceptable. That's not like, it determines how you handle things going forward to a degree. But if you don't know what's going on in your own company, you're not capable of running a state.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is that we now have proof enough to know that he was actively like trying to crap on a lot of our medical stuff here. He did the same with unemployment. DeSantis shrugged his shoulders and said, Rick Scott left me the unemployment site, and I didn't know it was that broken.
Yep. Sammy-san has decided this has gone on too long and has just pushed the keyboard out of my lap.
Oh, jeez. Oh, my. He definitely makes his thoughts and positions known, doesn't he?
Yep.
Yeah. Elmer does too. I'm surprised he hasn't tap danced on the computer yet.
Well, the little one was dancing around my desk a little bit ago, and now she's sitting under the cat cradle because she figures, okay, we're not getting the old lady to pay attention to me quite yet. Or at least not the way I want her to pay attention to me.
Yeah. Up, we've lost to Jenny.
Yeah, somebody had said a while ago that we need to poke her.
Jenny.
Morning.
I'm not asleep.
Okay.
Okay.
I
Uh-huh.
just didn't have anything to say. Just listening.
Yeah, 2020 definitely needs more cowbell.
2020 needs a lot of things.
Wait, cowbell? How would cowbell help?
Ice cream help. Listen, ice cream doesn't fix anything, but it makes you feel better.
The cowbell breaks up the monotony.
It's just like the little bao, the little bao sandwiches I get from one of my favorite Chinese places. Does it fix anything? No. Does it make me feel better for like half an hour? Yes.
You know, there's the thing. I am so pissed off. I have not been to my favorite Chinese buffet since January. I really, really miss the place.
Yeah. And again, we found a rather nice one here just after we moved, and, you know, then it closed down.
Yeah.
And they're doing delivery now, but, you know, it's not the same as being able to go in there for a couple hours and just load up.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I would go in there and I'd load up my plate, and then I'd sit and I'd eat, and then I'd go and I'd load up my plate and I'd sit and I'd eat. And, you know, 3 trips to the buffet getting food. No wonder I weighed 240 pounds. But it was kind of nice on the food budget. You know, you get enough for 3 days for $10, you know. And
Yeah.
I know none of it is authentic, but, you know, I like this stuff. So what can I tell you?
Yeah, for me, I miss going to E Street. E Street was my best friends and my place to go whenever we had a celebration.
Mm-hmm.
And it's technically open, but I don't want to go and risk it.
East sounds like Springsteen. Didn't Springsteen have, what was it, the E Street Band or some shit like that?
I don't know. It's the proper name is European Street, but nobody calls it that. It's always E Street.
Okay. Yeah, there it is. The E Street Band.
Isn't that
Yeah.
Bruce Springsteen's band?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know the buffets around here are opening up again, but I'm not going to trust them.
You know how it's
Right.
gone really, really bad over here in UK land? Cases through the roof. And where I am is really COVID central, as I keep saying. During the month of August, they had this scheme. The government came up with this bright idea, this scheme called Eat Out to Help Out, would you believe? And so every week, Monday to Wednesday, at participating restaurants, you could go have a meal, sit down inside. No fucking masks, obviously. And you could get up to £10 per person knocked off the price of your meal. And it was very, very popular, obviously. 10 quid, you know,
Yeah.
it's a nice discount. Well, what do you think happened when that ended? Numbers through the roof.
Yeah,
I can kind of see the logic because it's a conservative government and they're obsessed about rebuilding the economy and what have you. But
Yeah.
really, is that the best way to do it?
Well, and I do feel bad because unfortunately, you know, it's like the family-run businesses that are going to collapse. The
Yes.
corporations and the you know, franchise chains, those are going to do fine.
yeah, we're going to lose a lot of our favorite places by the time this is done. And it's because they're not going to be able to continue operating with all of this stuff going on. And instead of, I don't know, doing the smart thing and paying taxpayers money to keep things going and maybe making plans for making things easier for places to reopen after the fact, they're just bulldozing through and just being like, get your ass to work. And we're in the background going, we'd kind of like to not die. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, I think the big thing that they should do, both for individuals and for small businesses, would be some kind of program for rent subsidies.
Yes,
Because
absolutely.
that's the thing, that
Yeah.
if they're closed and they're still paying rent on the premises, then they've got a big problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
I lost one of my absolute favorite places because of that. They had to keep paying the rent and everything. Place called the Original Hot Dog Shop on the Pitt campus. And when I was at uni this last time around, so many times I would go there, order of French fries, which was something like 4 pounds, and a couple beers, and just sit there, with my textbook. And it's gone now because they couldn't maintain their recurring costs without a revenue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's the thing is like, even if we just put a moratorium on rent where it was like, look, nobody pays rent right now and you don't have to pay back rent after the fact, that alone would help so much.
Well,
But
yeah,
we can't do that.
in a case like that, now you have to subsidize the landlords. I mean, I understand that position because they do have to pay whatever maintenance costs of the.
Well, then fine,
properties.
subsidize the damn landlords. Do
Yeah.
whatever it takes.
Yeah, you've got to take care of whoever you need to take care of, because the empty store isn't going to pay for itself. So you've got to be ready to do that. And in this environment we have, no, they're not ready to do that unless it's a big corporate entity because
Yeah.
the little places they're not prepared to offer the gifts and the perks to the politicians.
Right.
So what are you gonna
Yeah. And that's the thing, is we're literally, basically, they're just funneling the money into the big businesses, which granted, there are some that we do need to keep going through this because it's part of the infrastructure. But we should be spending even more of our stuff on basically everybody else.
Well, and the corporate chains are not going to go under for it. Yeah, they may have a couple of bad quarters that they aren't as profitable as they're used to being. But they've got the capital that they could survive a couple of bad quarters.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's going to be far more than a couple of bad quarters because we didn't take the steps to make things all right.
Yeah.
I mean,
and unfortunately, them rushing to open things up again is just going to make it worse. And it's like, I know a lot of that they're doing because they want things to look better for the election. But 6 months from now, we're going to be fucked again.
We're fucked now, to be honest. We're just sitting around waiting for it, basically, at this point.
Yeah.
Especially those of us that are just staying at home. But,
yeah, well, and there's stuff I want to do that I can't do. And both of my gaming conventions this year got canceled. But yeah, that's the way it has to be handled.
I am so mad. I think it's one of the Comic-Cons, not like the small offshoots that are based on the original one. But I believe there's one in LA that is going full speed ahead. And I'm just sitting there like, the best of fucking circumstances, you get con-cried.
Yeah.
Nobody goes to these things and comes home without getting some sort of sickness. And usually it's just the sniffles.
Usually it's just venereal disease.
That too. But I'm just like, fucking con crud could kill you or disable you this year. Stay the fuck at home.
Yeah, well, that's like Con of the North isn't until the middle of February. But they already decided that, no, they're just not going to do it this one year. And this is the first year since it started that it won't go off as scheduled.
Yeah, all of the cons locally, because they were able to get out of their contracts, have all been like, hey, we're just going to move to virtual, with the exception of one. One of them was like, we're going to take the losses because we've been doing this for a number of years and we know everybody will be back. Just, do you want to forward everything to next year? That was basically what they did. They said, if you've got a ticket, we'll give you a refund if you want it. But if you hold on to it, you can come next year and we'll give you shiny presents for waiting.
Yeah, well, that's what Con of the North did. They already had early registration going. I was already registered for it. But in August, they would have had to sign the contract with the hotel. So they decided at that point that, no, they just weren't going to book the hotel space and just skip it for 1 year.
Yeah, the hotel spaces were all already booked and everything. The convention space was already booked, but pretty much the attitude was like, yeah, if you're just going to come back next year, you've been a long time, customer. We trust you. We'll take the loss. You can do it next. You can come back next year.
Yeah, well, that's what they did, was that everyone who was already registered, they just push it back and they're already registered for 2022.
Yeah, that's
And the other one I would have been doing, would have been in October. And yeah, for that one, they've just replaced it with a weekend of online gaming.
yeah, the one for us in October is the one that they've shifted. I kind of wish that they had gone online, but I completely understand. Because usually they hold it during Ace Week, and that's one of the ways that I usually kind of get dressed up and do some Ace awareness stuff. And this year, I think they talked about having a booth. I don't know whether or not they actually did. But yeah, I am so mad that people are still trying to have cons because there's no reason for it. You can move it online. And I know it's rough on the vendors, but there's a difference between rough on your finances and you came home with COVID.
Yeah. I'd love to get to another Ark Encounter protest, but I don't know if there's going to be another one within my lifetime because I don't know if they're going to do one in 21. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that.
My bets are on no.
Yeah, at this point, I would say the vaccine would not be widely enough available by next June.
Yeah. That's my thought as well. And it's unfortunate because, there's some people I'd like to see again. There's some people I'd like to see, that sort of thing. And unfortunately, it's just not going to happen. Damn it.
Yeah. And that's, I was trying to see, this year, whether or not I could get the money together after the move to be able to do it. I probably wouldn't have had the money anyway, but it's definitely something I would like to go and do again just because of the people I got to meet there.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I have multiple people who are itching for me to go visit them. And I want a vacation from this house so bad.
Oh, yeah, I know that feeling because I was kind of engaging in some wishful thinking earlier and thinking about it would be nice if I could rent a cabin up near Erie, for example. I don't know if any of you folks know what Presqu'île is. It's a little bit of a literally, the name is almost an island. It's a little peninsula out in the Lake Erie near Erie, Pennsylvania.
The normal pronunciation would be Presque Isle.
We have discussions about that here in Pittsburgh, yeah. Because let's remember this is French. But let's also remember that the people around here called this place I live in North Versailles.
Have you ever noticed how many Presque Isles there are?
Quite a few of them.
Wisconsin has 2 of them, I think.
Okay. Yeah, with that whole thing, and as I say, or even just spend some time in Chicago again because I love that place. But when I say that I don't expect restrictions to be withdrawn until 2025, I'm not joking. So, what are you going to do?
Well, I think the restrictions will generally tend to be withdrawn after they have the vaccine.
Yeah, and I still don't know exactly when you'd be able to have the vaccine in general enough circulation.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I think the most optimistic estimate would be next summer. But,
I honestly
guessing,
think,
and depending on who you're going to ask about it.
Well, here's the thing. Under normal circumstances, people tend to not want to work together to get stuff like vaccines done. Because it's just like, we'll work on it when we'll work on it. this is such a huge deal that this one they're actually taking seriously, and they're actually actively trying to push it out as fast as humanly possible.
Well, yeah, part of that is that they're actually skipping some of the normal safety protocols that normally there would be a lot more testing and approval processes required.
Yeah,
Oh,
which
sure.
is risky, but at the same token, I understand why they're doing
Oh,
that,
yeah.
because if
No.
they wait too long, we're all going to be dead.
Yeah, it makes sense. But the other thing is that in most circumstances, it's also, companies competing against each other to get it to market and try and make some money off of it. But, in this case, the companies are acknowledging that it's better for everyone if they work together rather than worrying about who's going to get the patent on it.
Because if we're all dead, you can't sell the vaccine to dead people.
Right. And I think that is a big thing for it, for the corporations that, they're looking at how it's going to affect their bottom line about, if too many people die, there just aren't as many customers left.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, night, Sloth Girl.
Oh, you going night-night? Okay, hon, you take care.
Yeah, it is kind of late for her by her standards. It's 3:29 here, so I'm thinking it's 2.
Yeah, it's
2:30
2:30 for us.
30.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's usually been in bed for a couple hours by now.
I think I'm going to bail, kids.
Okay.
Night, Jenny.
All this
Jenny.
discussion about time, now it's made me tired.
I know that works, definitely. Well, you be good and have fun. And
well, this was good practice, Diana. Movie night tomorrow night.
yeah, come to think of it, I was so overjoyed, really I was, to find that it doesn't last as long as I was afraid it would. Because that was the reason I wasn't showing up. I was thinking it was going to be running, 6 hours the way it used to. And I just can't do that stuff anymore.
Yeah. No, she keeps a pretty tight rate on it for how long it lasts.
Yeah, well, because Jessica and Sean usually have to work the next day, so I try to keep it down to 2 hours.
I just want to hear Stool say something before I go.
You dirty, dirty pervert.
Yeah,
that's good enough. Thank you very much. And with that, I shall bid adieu. Okay, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night. Yeah, what Jared was talking about was you can still support the vendors. Yeah, you can. It's a little bit more difficult because then you have to add in shipping costs and things like that. And for some vendors, it is very hard to ship things. Yeah. But it's doable. It really is. It's just people just want to look at it and be like, well, we're not going to get our money back, so we might as well. And it's like, I'm sorry, take the loss. You're not doing your fan base any good by holding these events.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And believe me, I missed these fucking events. I missed Ancient CityCon this year. And I love Ancient CityCon because it's one of the more steampunk ones and diesel punk ones. And I actually have a teapot racer this year. And I was going to do teapot racing.
Teapot racing?
I literally have no idea what this means.
You take a kettle, you put it on a toy race car base, and then you control it through a maze, and whomever gets to the end of the maze first wins.
Okay, so they're like radio control cars.
Yeah, they're radio control cars.
I was going to say
with teapots on top of them.
Okay. Yeah, when you talked about the race cars, I was about to ask, do they even do slot cars anymore? But this is something different.
Yeah, no, it's little toy car. It's little toy cars. Basically.
I was thinking more like the Boy Scout Pinewood Derby cars. Just
we
on
do
a
not
downhill
have.
Track.
We do not have the places in our convention centers to do that, but I'm sure that if we did, we probably would.
Okay, then.
But our convention centers tend to be downtown and are more geared towards normal businesses.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to be more creative with solutions, and we need to realize that things are just not going to be what they were for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and it is pretty hard on people of, unfortunately it started out and a lot of the government officials were trying to say that, well, we just have to do this for a few weeks or something. So, getting people to realize that, no, we're going to have to be like this for at least another year.
Yeah.
Well, and then they turned around and they're like, get your asses to work. Because I hate hearing oh, you just want free stuff. And I'm like, no, I just want us to support each other to get through this shit. Because the more of us who can stay home, the less that we're going to spread this around.
Yeah, I just want fewer people to die.
Where I live, because over here now, the government are trying to avoid another national lockdown, which is what we had at first. So we've now got this situation where every day a new town will say, okay, new rules in our town. And where I am, super duper strict. And the reason it kicked off in this town was because about 3 weeks ago, some idiot went on his 2-week holiday to Spain, caught it, came back. Legally, he's supposed to quarantine for 14 days. He didn't. He went straight out to town on a pub crawl. Lots of pubs in one evening. Passed it around. And before you know it, we've got the biggest rate in Europe, in my town, which is weird. So the super rules came in, and here all the pubs had to close. Whereas in the rest of England, they introduced a thing where they have to close at 10 p.m. So nothing can open after 10 p.m. Our pub thing ends tomorrow. The pubs are going to reopen. I know what's going to happen, and you people know what's going to happen as well. It's going to get bad again.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to get... this is not going away.
I'm expecting it to get bad here. There has been a round of court cases in which some of the restrictions have been ruled unconstitutional by people who don't want to be bothered to wear masks or whatever this sort of thing is. And we've had restaurants opening, for example, and other restrictions of that manner being lifted. I'm just waiting. Just give it a couple of weeks, and we're going to have the killer numbers again.
Yeah, it's so predictable. When we were easing out of national lockdown, it was supposed to be being done in stages. So the first things that were allowed to open were, of course, because this is the UK, pubs. So everybody heads to the pub, spreads this crap around, shortly followed by schools. Pubs, then schools. Most of those schools are having to close because they're getting cases, of course. It's just a vicious circle.
Yeah.
I haven't replied to what you said, but I am internally screaming. Just, oh.
Okay, let's see here. Don't mind me. I'm just doing some bookkeeping work here.
That's really what happened in Wisconsin, was that the state Supreme Court declared the governor's mandates unconstitutional. So that allowed the restaurants and bars to reopen.
Yeah.
And the number of cases they had, in the next month just skyrocketed.
That's what happened.
Unfortunately, I'm like 2 hours from Wisconsin. So yeah, there's people traveling back and forth across the state lines.
Oh yeah,
That's what happened
same
here.
here.
Yeah, that's what happened here with Tom Wolfe's restrictions. These were, back in May, and many of them had expired since, but some of them were still in place. And yeah, those that were still in place have been lifted through a case filed here in Pittsburgh, and then other states are following suit, if you will, because they don't want to be sued in federal court, and the way the federal courts have been stacked, of course they're going to side with those who want the restrictions lifted.
Yeah, odds are you're going to get a judge who's right-leaning at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, fun times. Did you know that Disney and Universal figured out that they can't actually protect people through the coronavirus at their theme parks?
Wait a minute, one more time.
Universal Studios and Disney finally figured out that they can't protect people from getting coronavirus while at their theme parks. That's been a fun discussion in Florida. They opened up 2 months ago.
Yeah, about Disney last week.
Yeah, Disney has laid off 28,000 of its workers. It could still pay them. Don't get me wrong. Disney's got the money.
Oh,
they
yeah.
just don't wanna.
Yep.
They also gave their CEOs a raise because apparently opening up the parks and spreading COVID and then laying people off is, raise-worthy.
Oh, yeah.
I love my state. Most of the time, I kind of want to kill everybody in my home state right now. There's a select few who are not idiots who are out to get me, but I swear my state is trying to kill me. I'm not appreciative.
Well, it's like, there's a lot of times I love my country, but I hate the government.
I would be lying if I said I loved my country right now.
Yeah, that's been hard to do the last 4 years at least.
Well, yeah, it just hasn't been my country for quite a while. Sorry. For at least the last 10. At least the last 10 years, at least since it's been obvious since the rise of the Tea Party.
Yeah.
Because I am tempted to describe the U.S. as heading toward an authoritarian fascist regime. No, I cannot say that because that is wrong. We're already there. We're not heading. We're there.
Yeah. Well, the hope is that we can start making some changes and turn things around. My biggest hope is that this next election, if we can get the Democrats in control of both houses of Congress, because
that's a big
either
if.
that will help turn it around, or at very least, even if Trump gets reelected, without any cooperation from Congress, it'll really slow down the damage.
Well, we can't afford to slow down the damage because the damage is still accumulating. And then even if we get a Democratic majority in both houses of Congress and we get a Democrat in the White House, it's still not over. Not by a long shot.
It's going to definitely, at this point, it would take decades to repair all the damage to international relationship that's been done.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you saw it. I'm trying to remember who wrote it, but it might have been Scott Dworkin, that Germany and Merkel are now occupying the seat that once was the United States seat. Germans have risen to preeminence in international politics now. And it's because of what the current administration has done.
Yeah, well, we talked about this earlier. You don't handle everything in politics with bullying.
Oh,
Yes,
right,
it's necessary in some situations and it's needed in some situations, but you need to know what those situations are and you need to know when to compromise and negotiate. And those are things that Trump does not understand how to do.
No, Trump has no concept of democracy and just assume that since we have the biggest military in the world, everybody will kneel down to us.
And unfortunately, that has been the attitude that multiple administrations have taken here. That's been the attitude for most of my lifetime, or perhaps all of my lifetime, come to think of it. Since World War II ended 12 years before I was born. So, yeah, I'd say all my life.
The thing is that there comes a certain point where it doesn't matter how much power you have. There's a breaking point where people will fight you even if it's going to hurt them because they've just had enough.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not quite at that point yet, but we're barreling towards it real fast.
I'd like to see it. I really would. I mean, I would like to go out watching the meltdown.
I wouldn't, but I have my reasons for it.
I'm actually kind of surprised at this point that there haven't been more countries that have been, should be kicking out the U.S. embassies.
I am actually surprised. That I am actually seriously surprised at.
Oh, it's coming. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I would have just expected by this point that a lot more countries would say, forget it, we're not even talking to you anymore.
Especially,
to be honest, we've earned it.
Especially with withdrawing support for many Western European nations, for example. Why hasn't Merkel said, go fuck yourself? Why hasn't Macron said, go fuck yourself? They've already come to the point where they're handling things by themselves.
Yeah.
They can afford to say it.
I don't know. I don't know, because honestly, I remember there was a map going around of these are countries that will allow you to travel to them from the United States. And it was like maybe 6 countries. Maybe.
Oh, you're speaking of border closures because of COVID?
Yeah. And I was just like, I'm surprised they haven't done more. Like we said, like kicking us out of, out of our, our, basically going, nope, we don't want you in this country anymore. Get the hell out. More, we're not gonna do anything with you for the duration. More embargoes.
Well, look who's letting us in. Turkey. Come on. Mexico. Oh, who have we got left? Nobody who is worth anything is letting Americans in.
Well, Mexico probably would shut us out if it wasn't so detrimental to themselves, to be honest. I bet they wish they could.
Moo.
I thought Mexico did. I didn't think they were letting Americans cross the border.
They might have to let Americans cross the border in order to send workers up, but is my thinking. But I could be wrong. It's been a while since I saw that map.
Let's see. Border closure map. Wait a minute. Let's put the USA in there just for the heck of it.
And again, it's one of those things that if any time in the past you had told anybody that Canada was going to close the border to the US, no one would have ever believed you.
Right. And that's an interesting little thing going here. Yeah, Nadine is down here visiting Josiah, and she's going to have to go through a whole shitload of hoops to get back home.
Yeah.
Okay, now when is this? What's the date line on this? Okay, May 15th, 2020. So that's kind of old. At that time, there were no reported restrictions in Mexico. In, let's see, is that Syria? The UK, which, Stool Honey, has the UK closed the borders to the US?
Oh, you know what? Fuck. This country's a joke, it really is. We, all the normal people in this country, kept asking ourselves, and yeah, I'm calling myself normal here, why are we still allowing people to fly into the country? We allowed it to carry on, including from Wuhan, would you believe? 3 flights a day in from Wuhan. Now, what we've got a system where every Thursday at 10 p.m, the government makes an announcement to tell us which countries, if we are either visiting or going to go to, on our return, we legally have to quarantine for 14 days. If you were to fly to the UK as an American, you would be legally obliged to quarantine for 14 days, but you can still come here.
Okay.
Yeah. By the way, nobody checks if you're quarantining.
Great.
Not surprised. Really not surprised.
Okay, yeah, I was looking at the Mexico thing here, and I found an article that's dated the middle of June, which basically just references back to the March 21st agreement.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it says they're limiting non-essential travel, but it's not completely stopped.
Well, again, like I said, they've got workers that come up, work for a season, and then go back for their purposes. Completely closing off the border is not something that they can feel that they can do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's already been a problem, because of Trump, cracking down on the immigration. Before the COVID started, it had already been a problem of not having enough migrant workers to pick the crops, and a lot of stuff was rotting in the fields.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So if we did not have people coming up from Mexico to pick the crops, the food prices in the U.S. would jump dramatically.
Well, they already have to some extent, but yeah, they'd be even worse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I need to work on getting to a point, because I'm not the best gardener, but I'm beginning to think that it might be in our best interest in this house to at least have some of our basics covered.
Yeah, if I had a yard, I'd be doing it.
Yeah, same here. And I mean, I actually like to do that sort of thing. So that would be, good in 2 ways. But no,
my problem is it will rain and rain and rain and rain. And so I will not get in the habit of watering plants because I don't want to overwater them, because that'll kill them too. And so I won't get in the habit of watering them. And then it stops raining for a while, and then the plants get dehydrated and die.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. Maybe every time you need to take a piss, go into the garden, No, huh?
I don't think that would be appreciated by anybody on my street.
Oh, scheiße, zu viel Scheiße.
Yeah, it's another thing. We've been a little extra luck here that don't know who it is, but somebody's got a garden and has been just leaving boxes of fresh produce in the community room here for whoever wants them.
Jeez, that's nice. It really is.
No idea who's doing it. I just keep finding the stuff there every couple of days.
Yeah, my My other big concern is trying to figure out how to stash supplies for my little sister, in case certain things fall apart, but the insurance makes it to where you can't really build up a stash anymore.
Yeah, that's a problem for pretty much anyone who's on prescription medications. That you don't really have the opportunity to put in a supply, and if anything happens that disrupts the pharmacy network, you're screwed.
Yeah, and she gets a monthly shipment of daily supplies, which are absolutely 100% necessary for her. And we can't stock up. It used to be there was enough time in between that maybe, once a month you could stock up 3 days worth of supplies or so. And then if something happened with the paperwork or something in the mail got lost, or in my case, I live in Florida, and at some point a hurricane will probably actually hit Jacksonville someday.
Yeah, well, I've been trying to do each month they will only fill a prescription like 5 days before it runs out.
Yeah.
Just each month I've been trying to fill it, that 4 or 5 days earlier, so that eventually I'll have at least an extra month in advance.
They ship out my sister's supplies on the same day every month. They cannot ship it any earlier than that.
Yeah, if you're getting it shipped, that's different.
Well, we can't exactly go to a pharmacy and pick her supplies up. I'm not talking about pills and medicine. I'm talking about medical equipment. And so they only ship out a month's worth, and pretty much she runs through it and maybe only has a day left if she doesn't have an emergency by the time they ship out the next set.
Yeah, if you can't go and pick it up, then there's really not much you can do with it.
No, there's not. And there used to be like a 2 or 3 day window where they would give you a little bit extra just in case. They won't do that anymore.
Yeah, when I was living in Michigan, I was having a problem with one of my prescriptions because instead of giving me a month, they were only giving me a 28-day supply.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
And it's like, how does that ever work out for anyone?
Yeah, with me, it's a 30-day supply, but then there are months that have 31 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
that was just really weird that, it wasn't 90 pills in a bottle, it was 84 pills. Because I had to take them 3 times a day.
Yeah, in our case, that is actually one of the biggest concerns that I have, because if a certain amount of infrastructure breaks down, how are we going to get that stuff for her?
Yeah. Well, anybody who's got, scheduled medical needs, that's a big issue. And that's why I'm worried about any kind of rioting or anything like that. That could be truly disruptive to the supply chains. Because, there's a lot of people that missing their medication for a few days could be fatal.
Yes.
For her, it wouldn't be fatal, but it's definitely her quality of life would go down way fast.
Well, and again, I'm realizing that, it's not so bad for me, because even if I wind up being without my meds for a month, things will get uncomfortable, but it's not going to kill me.
Mm-hmm. My sister is on medications that keep certain muscles from spazzing out.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, it would be extremely uncomfortable for her to not be on those medicines. The medical supplies that she gets prevent her from getting certain bacterias. And I won't go into too much of it because it's not, that's personal, private. But basically, like, she won't die, but she might become bedridden because it would be so bad. And
No.
that's shitty. That's not a concern that I should have to have.
Right.
Yeah, that's actually, that was did I get the wrong one there? Yeah.
What, honey? What?
The omeprazole that's one of the ones I'm on too. And yeah, I mostly with the move, I had some problems that I wound up being almost a month without being able to get my prescriptions refilled.
Oh, I remember you saying that. Yes.
You know, but like I say, for me, it's like nothing's fatal, and half of them I can get over the counter. They just cost a lot more. So for me, the biggest one is that if I don't have the gabapentin to suppress the ticks, I'm going to annoy the fuck out of my neighbors.
Okay.
Oof.
Yeah. Gabapentin. That's the one known as Neurontin?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I thought that's...
Yeah, it works as a neural inhibitor.
Right.
So it really dampens the tics from the Tourette's. So without it, I tend to be making a lot more random loud noises.
And then there's this cat. What are you doing, kitty? No, you won't fit in there.
But yeah, the sad thing is that there are some issues on which my dad looks at me and he thinks I'm nuts. And I can kind of understand why he does, because I used to think the same way when I was Mormon. But there are other things where I'm looking at him and saying, how are we going to do this? And basically he's got no clue. Which has been real fun.
Yeah.
Honey.
Yeah, I can't really imagine the mental juggling that has to be going on in your house to, for everybody to keep living together.
It's pretty damn hard. It's doable. It's hard. It's just a lot of it's none of us really got any choice.
Yep.
My dad's just as concerned about making sure that my sister gets her prescriptions and her medical supplies as I am. Which, on the one hand, it's nice that he doesn't think that I'm making stuff up or imagining things. On the other hand, the fact that he's as freaked out as me tells me that I'm not making stuff up in my head.
Move.
Yep. Yeah, Dave, what's the Lyrica for? I know I've heard of that one, but I don't remember what it's for. I don't know that name for it either. Pregabalin?
I believe, isn't Lyrica one of the ones that deals with... Hold on. I should know what Lyrica does, but I don't remember.
Oh my, where are we here?
I'm thinking it's a rheumatoid arthritis medicine too. I know what this.
When you say that, I think you're right.
Lyrica treats nerve pain after herpes, diabetic complication causing injury to some body nerves, additional medication to treat partial seizures, disorder characterized by stiff, tender, and painful muscles, nerve pain from spinal cord injury, acute pain following an operation, repeated episodes of anxiety, restless leg syndrome. I don't know what change of life signs means. And also extreme apprehension or fear of social interaction. Okay. So basically, specific kinds of pain, restless leg syndrome, and social anxiety.
Yeah, I was going with Dave on this one. I think it turns you into a goblin slowly.
Is being turned into a goblin a really bad thing?
Okay, yeah, anti-epileptic.
Okay.
I don't think I would care for becoming a goblin.
Is it just me, or
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was. Yeah. I had a suspicion it might be.
Okay.
The problem is you're the only one in here without a cat.
Yeah,
there you go.
YouTube side chat. Is it all centered for everybody else?
No.
I don't know, because I'm not looking at it right now. Give me a half a second to log this general journal entry. Okay.
I noticed this yesterday. All the chat inside chat is centered, and it's just weird formatting. I don't know why it's doing it for me.
Okay, no, mine's in the usual place. It's on the right side of the picture.
Are you using some kind of an extension, like to be able to go to the channels on the names?
The chat box is still where it should be, but the actual text of the chat, each line is centered within that chat box.
Yeah.
So it looks.
I see what you're saying. And no, that's not happening to me either.
No, I'm not seeing that either. That's why I'm wondering if you're using some kind of an extension in your browser and maybe YouTube changed something so it's screwing up the formatting.
Not that it should do that. I was using the, whatever it's called, the go-to thing.
Yeah, the go-to channel.
But that doesn't work anymore unless you pay for it.
Right. Yeah, I had to disable it because it was that was actually causing some formatting problems in mine. And it wasn't working anymore because they say you could use it for 2 hours for free, but that's just 2 hours of being logged into YouTube, whether or not you're watching any live chats. So it's the 2 hours burned out way before I had a chance to use it.
Okay, move. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I don't much like those free trials and all that other stuff.
Well, it wasn't a free trial. It had been just free for all the time I had been using it. And it was just the developer, decided now that they needed to get some money back from it. Which I wouldn't mind, buying it. I really object to the idea of paying every month for software and
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know somebody who doesn't like that idea either.
It turns out I hadn't disabled that go-to thing. I've just uninstalled it and it's gone back to normal now. So
yeah,
it was obviously teasing me.
I just want to fuck with you in the world.
Okay, so are we winding down here?
Yeah, I think we are.
I don't know. Well, considering it's 4 a.m. over here, yeah, maybe we are.
Does anybody have anything coming up they want to plug?
Just the usual stuff.
Not really. I keep promising stuff and then just not being able to do it. So
we're going to do something on Sunday. I just don't know what. It'll probably just end up, me fawning over Kate and everybody, just joining up for the shit show.
yeah, I'm gonna be trying to do something for Ace Week, but that's a couple of weeks from now, and I have no clue like what I'm gonna be doing, or if anything. It depends. But yeah, I mean, I'm not promising anything at this point because I still have projects that I'm technically working on. I never know when my brain is going to let me finish them at this point.
Okay,
so, I will most likely have a celebration stream on around the 15th because I have no other way of celebrating at this point of my anniversary of telling the Mormon Church officially to fuck off.
Yay!
So, because I can't go out with my friend, I'm going to probably do a live stream. So.
Okay. When is this again?
I don't know the exact date because on the 15th I have a game, but sometime that week, probably either on Tuesday or Wednesday, most likely is when that's going to be. So the 13th or the 14th.
I'm going to have to try to remember that one.
Yeah. It's basically going to be a hangout. It's not going to be anything official. It's not going to be anything. I'm considering doing something stupid and allowing people to ask me questions. Thinking about it. Again, no promises, especially around you fuckers, because I know some of y'all are gonna ask like really off the wall things. So
well, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
Okay, and I want to thank Amiga Nuts for getting all the links out there.
Amiga's such a big sweetie.
Yep. I've got one more here, and this is, I have a separate Amazon wish list, which is just the components I need for building my new computer. So if anybody's feeling generous, but I want to be clear, this is not a desperate thing. It's not an emergency. And at this point, I can put it on a credit card and pay it off in about a year. But if anybody wants to help, it would be appreciated.
Moo. Very, very, very moo. Yeah, those little helps are always so nice. They really are, because anymore, the stuff's rather expensive.
Yeah, but assuming my finances continue as they have been since April, I can pay it off in about a year.
Okay, then. I mean, now there's something for you is since the COVID, I mean, COVID's actually been good to me in a way where I don't know if they do this for you or not, but here we're getting extra food money.
Yeah.
I get
Minnesota's been doing that too. Jenny was talking about that, she was surprised how much was on her food stamps.
Yeah, I'm getting something like $180 a month rather than $16.
Yeah,
so that's
well,
like 180.
for me, it's basically been that since people have been locked up, my side hustle of selling Legos online has, really been just a lot more than it's ever been before. So even though I haven't been doing my regular work, it's been enough to cover my bills.
Yay. Yeah, because with me, the extra food money has really helped in the sense that I'm putting cash toward the other debts that I have and actually starting to reduce those balances. And I'm going to miss COVID being over because then I'm not going to get the food stamps anymore. And,
well, I can't go on indefinitely because basically this is, liquidating old stock.
Yeah,
So
okay.
sooner or later, I'll run out of inventory, and then it's all going to dry up.
Oh my, oh my. The joys of trying to get a money to live.
Yeah, well, the bright side of it is it's stuff that I bought on clearance that is now selling for its original retail price again.
Okay,
So
then.
it's all stuff I bought for 50 to 75% off that I'm now selling at
Ooh.
full value.
Nice.
Ooh.
But it's stuff I just, socked away in storage for a couple of years, and now people are wanting it again.
Yeah.
Yay. Yay, 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 yay. What is wrong with me anyway?
So yeah,
A lot.
I know a lot of people are really struggling, and in a way I feel a bit guilty that this is actually working to my advantage.
Yeah, actually. I know that feeling. Because, were I to have been making a living the way everybody else does, if you'll pardon the expression, yeah, I'd be a creek right now. But because of the way I get my money for a living.
Yeah, if I didn't have this fallback and I had to be relying on doing my home repairs, just because this all started right after the move, I never had time to establish any customers here.
Yeah. Oh, yoy.
And of course, with the COVID, nobody wants a stranger coming into their home. So unless it's an emergency repair, there's no call for it.
Yeah, which is something interesting. We usually have an apartment inspection coming up pretty soon. I don't know what they're going to do about that. It'll be interesting to see.
Oh, they did do the apartment inspections here. And, basically the thing they sent out, the notice for the inspections, it said right on there that, the caretaker and the inspector will be wearing masks. You will be expected to stay in the bedroom while they're in your apartment.
Okay, that sounds somewhat familiar. They do have a sign up from June that, for emergency repairs, anything like that, you were expected to either leave the apartment or lock yourself in a room. That ought to be interesting.
That sounds scary to me. Like, I know it's what you gotta do, but
Mm-hmm.
Like, I worry for the day when they start forcing inspections here. They kind of make you have at least one person visit once a year, but they basically sit in your living room and say, hey, here are signs of abuse. Are you actually being abused? Okay, no, you're not. Bye-bye now.
Okay, then. Yeah, we actually have two inspections. The landlord does one and HUD does the other one. And they usually come in rapid succession.
I think it's maybe because we don't have HUD housing that we might not be getting the inspections, although I have heard that some states don't care if you're on disability, whether or not it's HUD housing, and still do the inspections.
Yeah, well, that's what ours was about. It was the HUD inspector, because some of the units in this building have subsidized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here, HUD usually comes by in November.
Yeah, but for the most part here, they're just checking there weren't any fire hazards and making sure that the smoke detectors and sprinklers weren't blocked or anything.
Right. Which is interesting because I know in the other place, the one that was falling apart, it was interesting to see what they would pay attention to and what they would ignore. You had an outlet extender over the outlet out of the wall. They didn't like that, but they didn't care that the outlet plate didn't fit correctly. And you can still get behind there with ease and all that other shit. So
yeah, on your HUD is housing and urban development. which is basically the government agency that's responsible for the Section 8 housing.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's what really worries me, about the election, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The current administration is openly hostile to anyone getting anything, any sort of benefits. So if asshole is reelected, are we going to be forced out onto the street?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a real issue. And yeah, that's, my medical coverage is relying on the government. So that, if they decide that the federal government is not going to subsidize the state Medicaid, then I can't get my prescriptions anymore, stuff like that.
Yeah, and it's that sort of thing that I have to be prepared for, and it's something you kids don't like to hear about, but what can I tell you? But we'll just...
But at some point, they have to come back to the realization that we have the social safety nets not for the poor people, but because it drastically reduces crime and the rich people don't get fucked up as much.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff they don't see about that. And what's really interesting is the people who complain about reproductive rights and that sort of thing would do well to read a book called Freakonomics of how describing how crime rate decreased drastically in the years after 1973.
Yeah.
And traceable back to Roe v. Wade. Yeah. I think it was 18 years after Roe v. Wade, you saw a dramatic decrease in crime. And it's because the kids who were not turning 18 in a bad position were not stealing to live, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. Well, and that's the whole point of it is if enough of the population is desperate just for having their basic needs met, then you wind up with a lot of things like rioting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When people are desperate enough to think that they don't really have anything to lose, there's nothing to hold it back.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, which is unfortunately, I have the feeling it's going to come to that. I'd rather not see that happen, but with what we've got in power now, I can see it coming.
Yeah, well, they're too short-sighted. They're not, looking at how it's going to affect things a couple of years down the road.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, and you're right. The Section 8 is actually a federally funded program, but it's administered individually by the states. So how they work the waiting list and such is going to vary from state to state.
And as
around here, they'll put everybody on the waiting list, but depending on, how they classify your need, the waiting list can be 3 years long.
Yeah, I got really lucky with that stuff, let me tell you.
Well, that's also why I wound up living where I am in St. Cloud instead of Minneapolis or St. Paul, because Sloth Girl needed the subsidy and the waiting list here was significantly shorter.
Oh my. Here in Pennsylvania, the administration goes down as far as the county and the municipal level. So it's interesting to see how the money flows, from the feds to the state to, in some cases, Allegheny County, in some cases, the city of Pittsburgh, that sort of thing.
Yeah. And there are a lot of programs that you're dealing with multiple levels of government to qualify for the single program.
Yes. When we had to move because of the owners not taking care of the last place I was in, I started looking in the city of Pittsburgh, and we had to go with the Pittsburgh Housing Authority. But then when I found this place, that was administered by Allegheny County, so I had to, I had to switch jurisdictions basically and go through that paperwork. That was fun. So, but these things fortuito anto. Is am I not annoying?
Yeah.
What am I talking about?
Although, the waiting list for St. Paul, for St. Cloud here was, actually down to like 6 to 8 months. And unfortunately, again, it feels scuzzy to say it, but with the COVID, the turnover is being a lot higher. Because, the people who are getting the subsidies are the most vulnerable people, the people who have disabilities and chronic medical conditions.
Yep.
So since I've been here, we've had at least 3 people die in this building. I don't know whether or not any of it was directly related to COVID, but 2 of the 3 were either on oxygen or had some type of, breathing mask that they wore when they went out before the COVID started. So, you have to suspect that people who were already in that situation, there's a really good chance that it was involved.
Yeah.
Although they haven't actually told us of there being any cases in the building. We did have a thing like in May that they said someone in the building might have contacted it. But they tested them and they isolated for 2 weeks and it came back negative.
Okay, and then there's a situation where I guess they are required to tell people about that, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think especially if somebody in the building had actually died directly of it, but,
Moo.
Again, if they had a pre-existing condition that was blamed for it, even if they tested positive for the COVID, I'm not quite sure if that's something they would have to disclose to all the residents or not.
Yeah, that would be really interesting. Who the hell was it that was going on about if anyone has any sort of pre-existing condition, the death should be blamed on that condition rather than COVID. I could just see in my case, were I to contract the COVID virus, trying to blame it on my kidney disease rather than the virus. It's wait, the 2 of them don't go together, Oh, Lord. I just don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's the thing that, politics shouldn't even be involved in it. It's a public health issue, but
right, absolutely.
That's our system is so fucked up that politics isn't everything.
Yes. It wouldn't surprise me that it's involved even more so now than it was in 1918.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. That things weren't nearly as partisan then, so I'm sure the politics weren't as hardly played on it.
There you go. Wait a minute. I'm looking over here.
Well, in 1918,
no, you were already here. Okay, I thought for a minute that Dave just showed up, and it was like, no.
No, he's been here for a while. But in 1918, there was still the positive connotation of nationalism that, with World War I and all, it was still that everybody was supporting the U.S. We weren't like such a divided country.
In the 1918 pandemic, 3 world leaders caught it. The leader of America, Britain, and Brazil. That's in 1918.
Okay,
in 2020, the 3 world leaders to have caught COVID are the leaders of America, Britain, and Brazil. There you go.
Yeah.
That's today's.
As you were saying that, I figured that. Yeah.
It's because we didn't learn from the fucking mistakes of 1918. People are going to look back at this point in history and be like, you had a prime example of how this works, and you still did the stupid anyways.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's why the U.S. handling of it is just simply unforgivable. The U.S. had the most warning. We saw months ahead what it was doing to Europe, and we did nothing to prepare.
And this is where somebody really, really needs to pay a price. I mean, it's not going to bring back the people who died. I know that.
Yeah, but
there
the
needs
U.S.
to
should
be-
have looked at what happened in Italy and said, fuck, we've got to do something before it gets here.
Yes. Yeah. And it was just a matter of, no, we're going to play this down so nobody panics. It's like, screw you, arsehole. And as far as I'm concerned, it's not even so much that he wanted to avoid a panic. It was that, to borrow a phrase, the bear had to keep his face clean. As they used to say, the Soviet Union, who couldn't have anything go wrong, the bear, the Russian symbol, had to keep his face clean. Now it's here in the U.S. where that's happening. Oh my! Oh my! Oh, look at that! Yay!
Yeah,
Donut for dinner.
I do have to wonder, how differently this would have played out if this hadn't been an election year. Because, I really think that Trump's big priority was, can we play this down and make it seem like it's not a big deal, at least until the election is over?
I don't know. Because let's remember, this administration is so fucked up. The impression I get is that they wouldn't have cared anyway.
I think it still would have been bad because I go back to Trump is running this country like he does his businesses. You either show up and work or you're fucked.
Right. But
and
even with Trump doing that, so much of it was left up to the states. So how many of the state governors might have played it differently if they or if senators in their party weren't up for re-election? Especially with the threat that the Senate could shift of which party has the majority with this election. If that wasn't a consideration for the governors, would some of the governors have played it differently?
I can understand where you're coming from on that, and that is a good question. I don't think DeSantis would have done anything different, but there might have been some other states that did.
Yeah, some states it wouldn't have mattered at all, but I think some states might have, been a little more serious on the lockdown the first time around.
Mm.
Anyway.
Does the kitty want some donut? Kitty wants donut. Oh my.
Okay, we were supposed to be wrapping this up, so.
Oh.
And it is just now 3:30, so we've been going 3.5 hours.
Oh, I guess it's a good time to call it a day, right?
Yep. Okay, well, thanks everybody for coming.
Take care,
thank you
kids.
everybody in the side chat, and thank you, Amiga Nuts, for keeping up with all the links for us.
Amiga is such a sweetie.
Yeah, the nights that he hasn't been here to help with all those has been a lot more difficult on me, and I usually didn't get half the links out there. Although he did email me his list with all the links, so at least I have that resource now. That makes it a lot quicker to find everybody's links.
Before we go, should we say a little prayer for the orange shit gibbon?
Yeah, go straight to hell and burn. I tell you, I actually wish there were a hell so he could go there.
Don't worry, Diana. I'm pretty sure there's an outer darkness, and I'll just drag him down there.
Okay.
I don't know. I go back to the image I had when my father was dying. It took him a long time, and I always thought that it was God and the devil playing poker, and the loser had to take him.
No.
And that's why it took 6 years for him to go.
Oh my.
You know what? That would accurately describe my mom, but for a fucking completely different reason.
I don't know. Don't give God and the devil any ideas. Because I could just see them taking forever to decide who gets me.
Okay. Well, good night, all.
Good night, everybody.